Good evening. Happy
evening.
January 18th, 2003. It is evening. isn't it?
Evening. Yeah.
That's good. All right. Can we call us to order, please?
Roll call, Trustee Broderick,
Present.
Trustee Bazinski,
Here.
Trustee Garcia Guillen,
Present.
Trustee Lee,
Here.
Trustee Mahalik,
Here.
Trustee Morales,
Yes, here.
Trustee Stamborski,
Here.
Trustee O'Connell.
Here. All right. And welcome, everybody, for coming. It's going to rain tonight. So if you don't have your umbrella here, then you better round one up. Right now, since I'm going to embrace this, since it is my birthday, I'm going to give.
Oh, okay.
We're going to play it. I'm going to lead it. No, I don't want somebody saying reminding me of it too often. But I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Happy birthday.
No, thanks.
Yeah, happy birthday, Dan. And I also want to say, if you don't have your umbrella, we have a good gift shop downstairs. Go down there right now. So.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. 104. Public comments. Have any public comments?
There are none.
There's good. Okay. 105. Communications. Do we have any communications, Garen?
We do. We have Mike Keene from the Northern Illinois Food Bank. Who'd like to come up? Come on up.
Great, thank you. All right, thank you so much for having me. I kind of feels weird to be here at night. I'm usually here at about 4:30 in the morning, so this is very glad to see all you people here today. And thank you so much for having me, Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of Trustees, Kelly, and Dr. Nwomo. Thank you so much for having me. I'd like to just highlight a couple things about the Northern Illinois Food Bank and how we work together with the Joliet Junior College. We work with over 900 food pantries, mobile food truck markets, and soup kitchens who distribute perishable and non-perishable foods. Since our start over 40 years ago, we are familiar with getting food to our neighbors in our 13-county service area, as you can see right here on the map. A lot of our counties are in the same counties that you serve. The only one missing there is LaSalle. Our programs include mobile markets, SNAP assistance, child nutrition, senior grocery, Winnebago Community Market, our own private in-house shopping market for neighbors, and we also have My Pantry Express, which is an online service where neighbors can go and order online, and then they meet as a designated spot, a Walmart parking lot, to pick up their meals. So that's a new program we've had for the last couple of years. Just to talk really quick about food insecurity in Will County, there's 64,100 individuals that are food insecure, 9.3% overall food insecurity rate, and 1 in 10 children face food insecurity. In Will County, we have 127 member agencies and program sites that feed over 1,108 meals. They distribute 1,108 million meals distributed in this county. 87, you know the number, it's up there. Anyway, that's how many meals we distribute through mobile markets and pop-ups that we do, like we do through your college here, okay? Just to explain the pop-up market really quick. Prior to the pandemic, mobile markets served as a way to get food to underserved communities. They could support about 250 households. When the federal government introduced the Coronavirus Feeding Assistance Program, it allowed us to pivot and expand our resources to serve over 600 households at one distribution event. Our largest one here at JJC was 1,200 households. That was in October of 2020. Together with JJC, we have hosted 40 pop-up events since July of 2020. These distributions have served 28,512 families. They have provided 1,863,000 meals, or 2,236,000 pounds. If you line that up in semi-trucks, that'd be 60 semi-trucks, a half a mile long. That's how much food has gone through this parking lot here. The meals we provide have protein, produce, shelf-stable, canned vegetables, a starch, and sometimes a dessert. That box you see in the picture, hold on. So there's a box you see in the picture there. That's our CV box we assemble at our Geneva Distribution Center. That's got all the canned fruit, canned vegetable, the pastas, the cereals, the peanut butters, all there in that box that you can put right in your pantry. We also have 3 other distribution sites in this 13 county area. One of them right there on Larkin Avenue, our South Suburban Center, okay? So how much does a pop-up cost? Right now, our average cost for a pop-up is $44,000. That includes the food, operation costs, and the staffing. Our food budget is triple what it was prior to the pandemic. This year, we'll spend $21 million alone just on food. Our challenge now is to source the food needed through food donations and to secure the financial donations to meet our meal goal. There's also a graph there on how our breakdown of food goes through. 63% of it's donated food, 26 is purchased, and 11 is government. And that is changing. The donated is going down, so that's kind of a rough part for us right now. But we cannot do our mission without our donors, volunteers, and partners. It takes between 50 and 80 volunteers to execute a pop-up market. This community has always been eager to empower our neighbors. We have had 1,933 volunteers participate in all kinds of weather conditions here. Along with the JJC students, faculty, and staff, we've had groups volunteer from Providence High School, Joliet Central National Honor Society, Joliet Catholic Academy National Honor Society, Mosaic Community Church Student Ministry, and the Plainfield Emergency Management Agency. Some of our corporate sponsors that have helped out here a lot too that we really rely on are Bar Freight, Citgo, ExxonMobil, Harbor Freight, and Exelon. In closing, I really want to thank the police department here and the facilities management. I can't tell you how many times I've been here in a couple inches of snow. Facility management gets it right out of the way. They help me right away at the beginning, and it just helps us serve so many people. Without your partnership, and the number one thing too is the outreach. When I see our name up there on your marquee when we're driving by, our hardest part is 60% of Feeding America says that 60% of the people don't even realize we're a resource in the community. So to have your partnership, have that visibility out there for people to know is such a huge part for us. So we really appreciate it. I'm not sure what the future is going to bring. I look forward to partnering with you guys in the future, and we'll see where it takes us. But thank you so much for all you've done. And as a site host, it's been a great relationship. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Keene.
Yes.
We just have
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome. 1.1.
Chairman, thank you. I'd like to ask the college community to join us in a moment of silence for the following individuals. The first up would be Kay McGee, the mother of William McGee in the English department, an adjunct, mother-in-law to Lynn McGee in CMOS, and grandmother to Emma McGee. The next would be Allison Kowalik, a student at JJC. Coach Jack Smith, retired JJC athletic coach from 1993 to 2001. The great Walt Zeta, heard a lot of great things about Walt, a huge loss to the JJC community. And Walt was a current and founding member of the JJC Foundation Board, as well as a retiree as the Vice President of Academic Affairs. Jordan Murillo, a student at JJC. Bertie Williams was employed at JJC from 1979 to 2005 as a specialist at our North Campus. And Vicki Callan, mother of fine arts professor Megan Callan. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. All right, 1.2, selected reports, 1.1.2.1. Board of Trustees approval of the African American History Month proclamation.
Just a quick check. Oh, there you are, Aisha. Aisha, I'm going to invite Aisha to the stage. Aisha is all over JJC, and the board will recognize Aisha. She's been in some of our marketing materials. I'm going to share a little bit about her. She's majoring in business administration, involved in the Black Student Union, the Social Justice Club, the National Society of Leadership and Success, a peer mentor, works in OSA. and in the future wants to own her own business. And I believe will be in attendance tomorrow at the event with Congresswoman Underwood. Am I correct? Yes. Okay, and a client, a beneficiary of the EBC. So just a great all-around story, does great things, has done great things. We're really proud to claim her, and she will continue to do great things. Aisha Ellis.
African American History Month 2023. Whereas the contributions of the citizens of the African American ancestry to the history and culture of the United States are invaluable and abundant, and whereas these contributions deserve recognition, and whereas citizens of the African American ancestry comprise a significant percentage of the residents of Illinois Community College District Number 525, and whereas it is the goal of Joliet Junior College to provide its students with a comprehensive curricular and co-curricular educational experience with consideration given to the contributions of all socially identifiable groups within American history and culture. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Illinois Community College District Number 525, Joliet Junior College, counties of Will, Grundy, Kendall, LaSalle, Kankakee, Livingston, and Cook, State of Illinois, hereby proclaims January 30th, 2023 through February 28th, 2023 as African American History Month in Illinois Community College District Number 525. Adopted this 18th day of January 2023.
So moved. Second.
Karen, will you call this motion to a voice vote?
Yes. Was that you, Trustee Gian, that moved?
Yes.
Okay. And then second, I heard a bunch of them over here. Okay. All right. Okay. So approval to of an African American History Month proclamation. Trustee Morales.
Yes.
Okay. Trustee Garcia Guillen.
Yes.
Trustee Broderick.
Aye.
Trustee Pazinski.
Yes.
Trustee Lee.
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik.
Yes.
Trustee Stamborski.
Yes.
Trustee O'Connell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, 1.2.2, Board of Trustees approval of Career Technical Education Month proclamation.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Josh West, the Dean of CTE here. Okay, whereas February 1 through 28, otherwise known as the month of February, 2023 has been designated Career and Technical Education Month by the Association for Career and Technical Education, and whereas Career and Technical Education offers students the opportunity to gain the academic, technical, and employability skills necessary for career readiness, whereas the ever-increasing cooperative efforts of career and technical educators in partnership with business and industry stimulate the growth of our regional economy and nation by preparing graduates for high-wage, in-demand careers, whereas career and technical education at JJC affords individuals with opportunities to learn new skills across more than 50 programs. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Joliet Junior College Board of Trustees proclaims the month of February 2022 as Career and Technical Education Month in Illinois Community College District Number 525, adopted this 18th day of January 2023.
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Karen. Will you call the motion to a voice vote?
Yep, the approval for the Career and Technical Educational Month proclamation. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. 1.2.3, motion of retiree Rose Meyer. Mr. Valdez.
Good evening, everybody. Roberto Valadez, VP of Student Development. Whereas Rose Meyer has been a loyal, dedicated employee of Joliet Junior College from August 1984 through January 2023, for 38 years of service with the college as a record specialist in the Records and Registration Department. Whereas throughout her years of service, Rose Meyer has demonstrated admirable support for the ideals of education as well as for the institution of Joliet Junior College and the people whom the college serves. And whereas this service performed throughout her years at Joliet Junior College has always been of the highest standard of professionalism, quality, and excellence. And now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Illinois Community College District number 525, Joliet Junior College, counties of Will, Grundy, Kendall, LaSalle, Kankakee, Livingston, and Cook, state of Illinois, does hereby recognize and commend Rose Mayer for her distinguished service, as well as for her diligence, perseverance, and loyalty in executing those duties as herein stated.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Karen, will you call this motion for a voice vote?
All those in favor of recognition of retiree Rose Mayer, please say aye.
Aye.
All, any opposed? Motion carries.
1.2.4, Marketing, Communications, and Strategic Engagement Update. Ms. Kelly Roder-Tonelli.
Chairman, I'm going to interrupt this real quick to
Sure.
attempt to hype what the board is about to
Please.
receive here.
Please.
And also not try to steal any of Kelly's thunder. Actually, you know what? Executive Director of Strategic Engagement, Kelly Roder-Tonelli. That's how I'm going to do this.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that very kind and energetic introduction. I appreciate it. It's good to be back up here and sharing with you all the things that we do. So much of the time we are behind the scenes. So it's nice to share the good work that we're doing with you today. So one of the things that Dr. Nemuo and I connected on when he first got here was that he loves to tell stories. And I said to him, you know what I say to my team every day? The function of what we do is to tell the college's story and to protect the college's reputation. And if we're not doing that, then we're not doing our job. So what you see on the screen there are some of the many ways we tell the college's story and protect its reputation. So hopefully many of you have seen this before. If not in my presentations, you've seen them in Bob Morris's presentations. This enrollment funnel is where the marketing and engagement and communication teams exist. We exist to build and cultivate awareness of Joliet Junior College, to build interest in Joliet Junior College, to encourage people to consider Joliet Junior College and hopefully finally take that call to action. And what that word conversion means is apply, be an employee, or become a community partner of Joliet Junior College. So teamwork makes the dream work. I certainly cannot do this by myself. I have an amazing team, and I will challenge any of you out there to tell me I'm wrong. And I've got two of them that I would really like to introduce to you tonight. They're actually two of our newest members, two of our newest leaders in the division. So I'd like to introduce our Director of Creative Services, Marketing and Creative Services, Robin Ballard. Hi, Robin. And then Katie Smith, who is our new communications and media manager. And in under 90, 100 days, we've done a lot. It's been good. So a lot of what I'm going to focus on tonight is 2022, but I want you to meet them and get to know them. They'll be around a lot, hopefully. So, and then Robin, if you could, while I'm talking, pass out the, don't peek yet. One of the things that I talked with Dr. Nemuo about doing more regularly, I know you guys get our media reports once a week, is to provide you with a quarterly report on all of our data and analytics. If you ever have a question, don't hesitate to ask. It can get a little overwhelming, but this is truly how we make our decisions, and how we make our decisions a lot of times in the moment with real-time information. So this is for you to peruse later. As always, I'm here for questions. So one of the things I wanted to circle back on was the fact that we did a communications audit. This was part of our strategic planning work for Goal 4, elevating the perception of the college. And in that audit, it returned 5 action steps. What you see on the screen are those 5 action steps. The really cool thing about what we were able to do in accomplishing and executing this plan was that our peers nationally recognized what we were doing, and we were invited to present our work nationally last year in New York City at the American Association of Community Colleges convention. And then actually in a couple months, I'll be going to the National Council for Marketing and Public Relations conference in Orlando. So people are noticing. and they're asking questions about how we're doing what we're doing. Two things I just want to pull out real quickly here is number one, readability. This is probably what I've gotten the most questions on, especially from some of our external partners wanting to know how we did this. We sent in 35 pieces of marketing collateral. That's everything from print to digital, you name it, we sent it in and had it assessed. What those results returned was that our collateral was inconsistent. What I mean by that is the language that we were using in flyers on web pages had anywhere from a 5th grade reading level to a 16th grade reading level. So what we do now is we generally recommend 8th grade reading level for everything. That's our website, most publications. If we do a piece like Connections, maybe it's a little higher, it's a different demographic. But we actually run all of our collateral through what's called a readability meter. Won't get into all the specifics there, but that has helped us increase access and equity for people who are getting our pieces. Second thing I wanted to call out was under social media recommendations. We formed a student influencer group, so we actually have students creating content for us on TikTok and Instagram. Hopefully you've seen them. They're doing a great job. So moving into traditional marketing. Again, traditional marketing is exactly what you think of it to be and what you remember it to be. It's all of our billboards, it's our flyers, it's mailers that we distribute to the entire district, it's our Connections magazine, it's even the poll banners that you see to the left. Again, all helping build awareness of Joliet Junior College. Not always necessarily saying, come apply at Joliet Junior College, but constantly building that kind of passive awareness in the background. And sometimes, like the summer guide, there are specific call outs, apply, register, here's how you connect with financial aid, so on and so forth. Traditional marketing always, always supports our digital efforts. Another thing I wanted to touch on today, a topic that we talk about a lot here in this room together, is our efforts to support our prospective Hispanic students and their parents. These are new numbers hot off the press from Bob Morris, I think on Friday in his strategic enrollment management report. But our Hispanic population now is at 31%. And so in addition to some of the examples of the collateral that we develop to give to people like Bob and his team or others, I also wanted to give to you the impressions that we have in traditional marketing from our commercials, our Spanish language commercials on Telemundo, and then all of the Unidos billboards, mostly in Joliet, and those are the specific locations. You'll see they're in grocery stores, they're in restaurants, they're at the Knoll Park Recreation Center that share similar messages. Okay. That was my reminder that I wasn't ready for quite yet. But as we move into traditional marketing, I do want to show you our latest commercial that's out now. That's also in Spanish. I'm going to show the English version right now. What I'm really proud of about this is that we've saved over $30,000. We've produced this commercial in-house, all the way from creative concepting to the video work to the editing and getting it to Comcast and Telemundo. So at the end there, those are actual students and employees gathered in the event center that we got on mic and got them to yell that. It was fun. We have fun all the time. Another thing I want to point out here too, you can see obviously our impressions are massive, 1.5 million views. But one of the things that we did this year was we shifted traditional ad dollars that would typically be used at during NFL games to show our commercial, during NBA games, and we shifted them to show during the World Cup. Because what we know through our partnership with Comcast and the audience data that we have is that 60% of World Cup viewers are likely Hispanic. And so the importance of the information that we collect every day and being able to shift like that and not having a straightforward plan that doesn't evolve or change is incredibly helpful. And I'll talk about that here in just a minute. So this is my new best friend. And I think maybe Robin's and Katie's new best friend too. This is a platform called Dash This. When you have to manage the number of analytics and inputs that we have from all of our social accounts, whether those are organic posts or paid posts, it's hard. And this tool allows us to holistically look at all of that data in real time and make decisions based on that data. How well is that Google ad performing? How well did that organic post do? How many engagements did it have? What was the click-through rate in real time? And so when we talk about an investment in digital, digital is dynamic. And that's really important. It's the best bang for our buck. And we can target specifically who we want to talk to with specific language and messages. So I was going to do, yeah, I think I can do this. I just want to show you really quick. It is very cool. I'm usually kind of a book. I'm an English major. I don't get into numbers, but this is cool. I'm just going to bring this up real quickly. So again, real time, we've got all these customized widgets for all of our things that we monitor and manage. Right now I'm looking at November 2022, but what I want to show you is a year ago, November 2021. And I'm just going to do a real quick example here, just at the top, so we can see how many fans we have. We can see our engagement rate, 2.36%. We can see how many new fans we had that month in November of 2021. Now try to remember those numbers if you can. And I'm going to go back up to November 2022. And you can see very clearly the increase in engagement, the increase in followers, and a lot of this data, again, as I said below, will show that as well. So it's again, real-time data, holistic, very, very helpful. Okay. All right, so moving into digital marketing. We do around 12 social ads a month, focusing on our core audiences of traditional students, parents, returning students, and Hispanic-speaking students. Again, like I've already talked about, digital marketing allows us to be hyper-focused on the people that we want to read and absorb those messages, and in some cases, call to actions. One thing that I think is really critical and wanted to point out to you, again, you can see the icons for all of our social channels on the left there, that just one Facebook ad. So if we're doing on average 12 of these custom ads a month, one Facebook ad can reach 45,000 customers and be seen by 45,000 customers. That is helping us achieve awareness and cultivate understanding of who we are, telling our story. So Google Ads, how many times, anybody want to volunteer how many times you've gone on Google today and searched something? A lot.
Fifth Amendment.
Okay, all right, Fifth Amendment, all right, fair enough. Those of you who've been with us for some time know that we have been using Google Ads for several years. They work. As we show up here, 84% of people use Google 3 times a day just for any kind of information. So the way that we have our ad platform set up is, even if you're not searching Joliet Junior College, if you're looking for classes near me, how do I go back to school? We're buying those keywords, and because of that, our ads, what you see circled here, are pushed to the top. So even if you don't know you're looking for Joliet Junior College, we're going to find you. And we want you to know we're out there. Another thing that I'm so proud of the team here. On average for our industry, for education, the click-through rate means if somebody sees that ad, decides to take the call to action and click on it, is 5%. You know what our average is? 22%. That's incredible, and something that I'm incredibly proud of. So where do all these things lead? Passive traditional marketing, digital marketing. it leads to our digital front door. Sometimes that's people's first, point of interaction with us. And so this is just kind of a point in time here. On average, we have people visiting our pages 1.9 million times a month. On average, 4 pages. And then I think 60% return. Yes. Another thing that a first-time visitor to our website might find is our online chat. We've talked about this before too. It's available 24/7 in English and Spanish. One of the things that's important to note is that, this does not take the place of the holistic support and one-on-one attention that we provide our students. But what it does do is offer a 24/7 touch point. So if someone just has a quick question, they're looking for an application, they're looking for something in financial aid, we are able to help them do that through a combination of bot responses, again, real quick, simple questions. We have populated over 500 of those in this, or a live chatter. And we've got a couple of those across campus of folks who partner with us in admissions and in other places in academics that help us answer those subject matter specific questions. Just another slide to show again, focusing on 2022. We had an 8.7 increase in followers for all of our channels in 2022. And again, something new that we added based on the communications audit was TikTok. So not only do we have organic posts that we share, but we also advertise on TikTok as well. A couple of successful social posts from 2022. One of the things I want to point out here is what I talked about at the beginning, which is part of what we do is not just say enroll now, apply today. We tell the college's story. We show people what it's like to be a student here, to work here. And if you look at the phone, the screen in the center, it says you are not alone, help is available. We did that in September. It was National Suicide Awareness Month. We know that that's a topic that is very meaningful to a lot of people right now. And so when we are picking and choosing and trying to figure out our strategy and platform, it's not always just apply now. There are other things that we hope can help draw people in to our community and tell our story. So earlier I mentioned Wiley's Pack. We know that our students want to see other students. They're more likely to listen to people who are around their age, look like them. And so I have to tell you, we just finished the first year of our Wiley's Pack group. We've got a returning adult student. We've got a couple of traditional age students. They've been really great at coming up with ideas, going out onto campus. They've done stuff, well, you can see on here, they've done stuff in vet tech. They've asked their fellow students questions, kind of how-to things. And we even had some fun with the baseball team where they sang their favorite guilty pleasure songs, which was a big hit. So again, like I said, anything digital, social helps us understand, our relationship with our stakeholders in the moment. These are just a few snapshot statements that we took from across our social media platforms that allow us to talk directly to our community, have that active dialogue, and cultivate that engagement. Media relations. Cannot forget the importance of media relations. We actively send out news releases every week to local media. We also actively pitch stories. Our professors serve as experts in their, subject matter experts for certain stories. We haven't been able to do a lot of that in the last 2 years. We're looking to gear up again in our endemic times. But one of the things that I think is important to note is that anytime someone is talking about the institution, serving as an expert source, the college is mentioned, you'll see the top, the 22 successful placements are nursing students and how well they scored on their NCLEX exams. There was last May when Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg came to the college. These are all things that influence people's perception of who we are and what we do. the third one. We were ranked one of America's best employers in the state of Illinois by Forbes. So a lot of value that comes from this work. So finally, I want to focus on strategic engagement. I'm really excited about this. Dr. Numuo has a very strong vision for this at Joliet Junior College, and I'm excited to partner with him to make that vision a reality. As you all may remember, over the years, we've developed a formal ambassadors program where we strategically assign people, a municipality, a social service organization, to make sure the college has a presence. And you'll see numbers there listed alongside for our ambassadors. You may have heard Dr. Numuo's philosophy, which I love. Colleges that are deeply embedded in their communities are successful community colleges. And that's one of the reasons that we're really working together to build this program and give it a strong framework. So really what we've been doing in the last couple months is following these pillars. We need to identify, connect, and cultivate. And a couple of things that we're working on right away that are mission-centric that you guys know about, 12 by 12 by 12, roots and branches, and then just institutionalizing how we can make connections across this very large, complex organization to support one forward direction. So with that, I'll just leave you with the future focus. I thank you for agreeing to and supporting the RFP for a brand and perception study. We're getting ready to do that very soon. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's going to be transformative work. And I'm really looking forward to bringing that back and sharing those results with you. So with that, any questions?
Hey, Kelly, the analytics is great. Love it. But what's the success rate? What's the end goal is obviously to get students to come here. Are we able to track that? How many students and what marketing media is working to get them to choose JJC?
What I can show you, and this is general.
Because we can talk on all the marketing avenues in the world. We can see all the views in the world. If we're not getting people to come here, we're not getting new employees to come here and choose JJC as their choice for an employer. Not getting students to come here, it's not a success. So that's what we want to know, I think. What's working and what's not working.
That's what we were looking for too, was to see the effect. Because when we go through all of our bills and we look at what is expense, that's another thing. We wanted to know what the expenses were, that what you're doing with all of the social media things and what the triggers are to monitor our success for enrollment. Because I don't see that in this report. You've done a good report of what we do for marketing, but what's our return on our marketing is what we need to see because of what we're spending.
And I get the 5 touches. Usually what I've always been told is 5 touches is key. And I see we're touching them all over the place. I just want to see what source we're touching them at that they're saying, you know what? I am going to go online. I'm going to click that and go register for classes at JJC. That's what we really want to learn. And then my one last thing is the, let's see, that's 1.9 million. You said there's 1.9 million people visited our website. Is that what you said? Is that the number that we said?
1.9 million views in a month.
So that's what I want to know. I want to know out of those views, who said, yes, I'm going to go sign up online right now and go right there. So I was hoping that Workday would be able to bring that to the surface over the years. So
one of the things, really, really good questions, and we have the data in some of these cases to show that. From my vantage point, and we work where's Bob? Where did he go? I just saw him. There he is. Hi.
he snuck out the back.
Yeah. we work incredibly closely together, Robin, the team, and your questions are spot on. You're asking, what is that conversion? I know in my area that we're being successful because we are increasing the number of people who are viewing, clicking on, engaging, sharing, right? But what I can tell you is in Workday, and we had the ability to do this, we're shifting some platforms of what we're using to track that. We did have the ability to track if a single or a couple different ads culminated in a completed application. So we do have that.
You do have that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's what we'd like
Yeah,
to
if-
see.
if you
I
could
think that's what
get
we
that
really
report,
like to see.
that would be great, too.
Because we, several years ago, increased our marketing budget. And we did that for a reason, to increase enrollment. Based on what we increased our dollar amount for the department for marketing, what have we done for our return? Because enrollment is the key issue that we're all focused on. And if we don't have any triggers in place to say it came from somebody that saw something on Facebook or something in the patch or whatever, how do we know that it's successful to bring students and employees in? And I think that's what Jake is looking for too.
I think it's a key issue. It's one of the key issues. It's not just the only one, but it's just something that we would like to do. So, and then one other one is the TikTok. I've seen that a couple of colleges are actually banning that on their platforms for security reasons. Is that something we're concerned about at all, or?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment.
But we've talked about TikTok, we've talked about Twitter, things going on with Twitter.
Yeah.
So it's again, we have to be so adaptable
Yeah.
all the time and ready to shift, but we're aware.
Okay.
Not anything we're looking to do
I'm
right
sure you guys are monitoring it.
Yeah.
I'm bringing my non-technological background to the things.
now. No, but
If you want your computer to be hacked at home, you call Jake Mihalik's IT.
All right, you got that, Jim?
Wow. Kelly, I want to jump in and just acknowledge the questions and make a couple of comments. So first of all, just incredible at how far marketing has, and specifically analytics and metrics have come. For those of you who were involved in marketing, in the 90s or around Y2K, you'll remember things like web trends. And back then, we were really excited about what web trends had to offer us in terms of reporting. This blows all of that out of the water and makes a lot of what you all are highlighting and asking about available to us in real time. So I want to be careful in the way I word this, because I'm committing Kelly and her team to to something very specific. But considering what's been raised, I think we are able to, using the dashboard, develop reports that demonstrate things like specific conversion rates per campaign, per social media outlet as well. So give us some time to kind of work through that, and we will provide the board a more detailed report in terms of, as Trustee Broderick mentioned, return on investment.
That's what we're looking for.
Excellent.
Yeah, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
We have that. We have a lot of data. So consider this maybe your first step, and then we'll take a couple more. But I'm more than happy to provide that in quarterly reports or more regularly.
And then are we also tracking this for employment opportunities too, and everything that people reach out to us through these various networks as well? So
Yeah, we have a really nice partnership with HR, who primarily oversees, when we talk about social and outreach and the digital platform, they're really managing our LinkedIn, but we do share a lot of just good things. I mentioned the Forbes designation earlier. They'll take things like that and share it on LinkedIn. So I think it's still a work in progress, where there's always some opportunity to evolve how we use
that's good.
that platform,
We have the best
recruitment.
employees, and we want to continue to attract the best employees as
Yes.
well. We like
Yes.
to implement their marketing as well, so we appreciate that, Kelly. So
Yeah.
And
thanks for the
Kelly, in
report.
looking at our monthly bill reports, that is what drives us to want to know more of what we're spending and what we're getting on our return. Because when I look at all of these items that I brought to Dr. Namua's attention, because I am the one trustee that has gone through all of this within the last 2 months to see where our costs are, and it's getting more and more, expensive. And I think the board needs to know what we're getting on our return, because this is wonderful to give us, how many people are viewing it, but what are we really paying for in order to do it? Because I see Google ads for $500. What are our Google ads? What do we get for it?
We can do the deepest dive you want. We have all that information. And I do want to clarify.
How long they stay on the page.
Right.
It also tells where they go afterwards.
Right.
Is our
It
page
monitors
broke?
that.
Do they click out right away,
Right.
or do they go to another JJC?
Right.
We haven't given her the opportunity to present that, but that's the kind of data that's available. to her.
Exactly. And that's that would be part of the follow-up of it.
Well, that would be a 2-hour meeting.
Well, I know that would be part of a
But
return.
it's good data, and I know how it can be used, but
Right.
and that's where we can measure the success more. Is why are they staying on our site, and where do they go when they click on it?
Right.
And that's the key part. So
But we need the data, and you've given us a lot of good data that we probably didn't even know, like about the Forbes and all this other information. So that thank you. This was a lot of work, and it's a lot of work, but I think people need to be aware. This is definitely creating that awareness, and we will see that return on investment with, staffing and enrollment. But I think we need to know the data, and then we need to know how to compartmentalize everything and understand what that data means. And I think that's your area. I think the enrollment report that we need is not going to come, it shouldn't come from Kelly, it should come from the enrollment department, but we'll hear about that, when it's time. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And just a quick point of clarification. Our budget has actually stayed the same. I've been in this position for over 6 years, and it's been flat. So what we've done is kind of reallocate as we've needed to, and knowing that there's a bigger return on investment in digital. About 60% of our total advertising spend is digital.
Mm-hmm.
And is there any way with the care money or when any of the money that we had gotten governmentally wise that said we could search for things, which would be, is that a possibility to use in the marketing area? I'll play on you, Dr. Farmer.
Yes, but I want you to know that we no longer have any additional HERF funds at this
so we're
time.
empty.
Absolutely.
Okay, just thought I'd ask.
But no, at budget time, I will be asking.
Well, that's what we have to know because
it's on the record.
And then if I could just say the Unidos marketing that we are utilizing, let me tell you, that has paid for itself, I don't know how many times over, because I see the cameras in the places, the local restaurants that I go to in the area, the mom and pop shops, they have those cameras, and I see JJC all the time, constantly on those cameras, on the screens. So the Unidos marketing definitely is huge for this area, for the community.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I'm going to bring up is the notability in all of our respective areas with our chambers, with their chamber bulletins, with the parades and all that, the visibility that comes out of your area, correct?
Yes.
So we need to build that up a lot more where all the trustees are informed and see that, because when we walk in and we don't see our names on certain events, we need to see that. We need to make sure that we're all encumbered with everything that we do in the 7 counties.
One thing that I can say just real briefly on that is we have a small, what's called sponsorship line item in the marketing budget, and that's it. So a lot of what the work I think, Dr. Namuo and I need to do, and important conversations that we need to have is as we build this out, what kind of financial, funding or backing do we have to build some of that out? So these are very, very preliminary. I don't feel it's appropriate to comment any further on them, but it's a question that we need to ask. We have, I think, less than $30,000 to support a full year's worth, and in some cases 7 counties worth of sponsorships, participation. So always a moving target.
Yeah. Kelly, I want to just take a moment to emphasize one of the things that Trustee Morales offered in terms of visibility to our growing Hispanic population. I think that if you look at our enrollment trends over the years, I'm proud that JJC has recognized that as a growing population, and that a lot of strategic thought has been put into serving that population. Additionally, I would offer that enrollment is really all of our responsibilities, that it does not solely fall on the shoulders of marketing, communications, and strategic engagement. Bob gave a presentation this week. Bob, was it this week or was it last week? Last Friday. And just a reminder again, and you all have heard this from me since March, that strategic enrollment management is a comprehensive process that involves, sure, the funnel, but it involves all of us representing the college in a positive way, in being involved in things like chamber event that Trustee Broderick and I went to today. It involves just all of the things we are connected to in the community. And yes, indeed, a lot of that falls on marketing, communications, and strategic engagement, but it falls on Dean Morris, it falls on Dr. Farmer, it falls on all of us, and it is a comprehensive strategic approach to enrollment.
Well, besides, having marketing stuff, we as trustees are also to be marketers of the school. So I would highly recommend that any activities that include anything political, anything within the 7 counties, that all 7 of us are aware of it, because I think, like even the MLK that Dr. Yolanda spoke at, we could have had more identification. I mean, I found it online from a source of mine, but I think we need to be informed as trustees of all the events that are coming up so that we can schedule ourselves and be prominently there as our marketeers for JJC. And I'm going to show you what Wabanese gave us. Wabanzi, pardon me. Yeah, Wabanzi. She's going to kill me when I say the wrong name. But it's the annual report. And I mean, this is really a great report. And I don't know, I mean, I got it in the mail at my house. I don't know why, but I did, because I don't go to Wabanzi. But I think it's really nice how they put everything together. And I'll give that to Dr. Namuo for you to see, because
Great work.
things that, the little cards that we used to have that were in English and Spanish that we could hand out if people asked us, especially now, especially when there is an upcoming election. People would like to hand things out. People would like to know more things about what's on JJC's menu. We definitely know what's on our menu, and we're allowed to say it, but some of us aren't up for re-election. So I think it's something that's a good tool that markets every 2 years too, to have.
Yeah. And those are all materials that we have that we typically provide you all at the start of the year. But certainly if you need more, you know where to find us, and those are all ready and available.
Great.
I did like the commercial. It was very good for that short time. There's a lot of interest, a very broad area that it covers, and there's a lot of places where people will see themselves in that video. So
Right.
that's
the
a
goal.
very good piece.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, I can go ahead and jump. And thank you again for the presentation and for going through all the numbers and giving us a better idea of everything that the marketing team is doing. So thank you for that. It is really great to see our shift to focus more on digital media, since that's a lot of what the needs are in the community. And also having a heavy presence in the community is going to be beneficial for a number of different things. So thank you for that. And yeah, I look forward to additional information, but thank you for the presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation.
Welcome.
I have 2 questions, if
Sure.
I can just shoot them real quick. Is the Google Analytics and Dash This, is Dash This like an integration that sits on top of Google Analytics, or is it owns its own separate entity?
Here's how I can explain it. Robin taught me how to use it, and that's what I'm saying. I love it. It's like widgets. So it takes the information that we have from each of our platforms and updates it in real time. Does that answer your question? Kind of.
Yeah, so it gets.
It's a subscription. It's minimally, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And then the second thing I kind of wanted to comment on was how a couple of the numbers in there were really interesting. However, a lot of times when I see numbers like that, I'd like to see them normalized against things like headcount, marketing budget, and like credit hours. So for example, how an ad from like the College of DuPage might come across to their population might be different to JJC, depending on how much, let's say how many follows they have, or potentially how much time was spent on that advertisement. So seeing those numbers in context is probably the thing that I would like to see out of.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can do that. Definitely. That's a great observation. Thank you.
And for student-created content, I'd like to point out that there's this very interesting phenomenon, which I have seen, in which something that's created by the college is pretty cool. But if it's created, the exact same thing was created by a student at the college, all of a sudden it's the coolest thing since sliced bread. So if you guys can really push that student-created grassroots content, I think it'd be awesome for the college's social media page.
It's a small but mighty group. They have a lot of enthusiasm, and I think you know as well as anybody, it's hard, right? A lot of times you're working, you're taking classes, and so they're doing this. They're volunteering because they just love to do it, and so we're lucky to have 9 really great students this semester. But definitely, got it.
All right, thank you very much.
Kelly, thanks for the report. I'm looking forward to you see what you can do with it moving forward. So thanks. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, you're welcome.
Thank you, Kelly. You did a great job. I love the colors and how they pop, and just the little things that really matters, so that it's grabbing people's attention. I was just wondering, with the food bank and being partners with them, are we also using, like, are we are we marketing that to the community other than our board? Because that is important, and I know a lot of people that may not know that we have that service here and that we do that. So how are we getting that to the community?
Yeah, so they're one of our, thanks for that question. They're one of our newer partners. As Mike said, we initiated and established a partnership with them in 2020. We've hosted over 40 pop-ups. At every pop-up, we provide flyers about the college in English and in Spanish that are handed out with the food. The sad thing, and you saw the need that he shared, those statistics, they just don't have the money to do those as much anymore. And so what we talked about was just kind of showing his gratitude to the college for the space and, the police and facilities and everybody that comes together to help make that happen. They can't afford it. So we've been kind of batting around some ideas of maybe how to still bring them back, because the location, as you talked about, is so important. At the access of 55 and 80, we have huge parking lots. It's safe. People feel safe. I've heard that a lot. I don't know. We're going to keep talking and see how we can continue to partner. And again, that kind of goes back to that strategic engagement component where maybe we bring in other partners. Maybe we look across the institution. I don't know. There's a lot of opportunity there, though.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So if we've been thoroughly marketed now, I propose that we say thank you again, Kelly, and go right back to you and say 1.2.5 legislative update.
Yes. Okay, so I am pleased to invite Julie Curry of Curry and Associates to the podium to join me. She's going to give you all an update of what to expect for the 103rd General Assembly. All of our legislators were sworn in last Wednesday, and you'll see at your table, actually I think yours are a little bit bigger, but these are all of the updated district maps. As you know, we redistricted as a state in 2020, and so this shows the outline of the colleges district and how those new legislative districts align within our college district. So just a big thanks to Julie for coming tonight and giving us some updates, and for all the things she's done for the college over the years. She's been a great partner. So with that, Julie. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. It's good to see you at the beginning of the year instead of right after the legislative session adjourns. But I have to tell you, the General Assembly has already been off to a grand start here with the lame duck session. There it is. As you know, every 2 years we have an election, and when the old General Assembly leaves right before the new General Assembly is sworn in, there's generally about a week's worth of time where the legislature will come in between the first of the year, and in this case, it was January 11th when the House and the Senate were sworn into office. So in those 5 days that they spent in Springfield this past year, they got busy and did a lot of things. Unfortunately, for those of us who have to monitor legislation and things that are going on in Springfield, it's sometimes kind of difficult because it's amazing what the General Assembly can accomplish in a short amount of time. And during the time that they were there this last few weeks, they did several things. And you've heard about it on TV and in the newspapers. They passed an assault weapons ban, pretty extensive there. Governor's already signed it. They passed legislation with the Reproductive Health Care Act, some pretty controversial bills. They did an energy omnibus bill, a healthcare bill for rural hospitals and nursing home assessment. They passed a paid leave of work for all workers act. So they did a lot of big things, including a supplemental budget for FY23, which is the current fiscal year we're in. They transferred about $850 million into the rainy day fund that the legislature's been building up over the last few years. That's a good thing. They transferred over, I think, $400 million into a special fund for a business incentive fund that the governor is going to use to attract businesses to Illinois. They transferred $460 million into an emergency stabilization fund for payments to critical access safety net hospitals. So they did quite a bit in those few days, and they went all the way up until late evening on the 10th before they adjourned sine die and before the new General Assembly was sworn in. Besides the General Assembly being sworn in, the governor and all constitutional officers, as you know, were sworn in. And in the legislature, the makeup of the General Assembly and the House changed quite a bit. The Democrats gained 5 seats, so they have 78 seats now in the House, and the Republicans have 40. That's way, way more. It's probably the largest supermajority that I've ever seen in the General Assembly by either party. In the Senate, the Democrats lost 1 seat to the Republicans, so the makeup is 39 to 20 there, 20 Republicans. I thought I would give you these statistics here, which I think are pretty interesting. In the General Assembly overall, in the House and the Senate, the makeup of the House and the Senate combined, there are 58% of the legislators that are women, 42% are men, 66% are white, Caucasian, 19% are African American, 10% are Latino, and 5% are Asian Americans. When I was in the legislature a long time ago, I can remember when women made up less than 1/4 of all the members in the General Assembly. So to see minorities and women move up in terms of the number of members is I think, good for the state. The leadership in the General Assembly, the Speaker, Manuel Chris Welch, was elected to his 2nd term as Speaker of the House. Don Harmon, the current Senate President, was reelected to his 3rd term as President of the Illinois Senate. We have 2 new Republican leaders in the General Assembly. Toni McCombie becomes the first Republican woman to lead her caucus in the Illinois House, and John Curran was elected by the Senate Republican caucus to be the Republican leader in the Senate. So we have a couple new leaders there that we'll be meeting with and talking to that I think will be a good addition to the leadership in Springfield. As for our local legislators, I'm sure Kelly's already provided you on the maps. It probably has all the members, but I think it's important to point out that we have several local legislators who are member of leadership in the House and in the Senate. Representative Natalie Manley is a House Assistant Majority Leader. Representative Larry Walsh is the House Democrats Downstate Caucus Whip. Representative Jackie Haas was just named as the as an assistant minority leader in the House. Senator Sue Resin is a Republican deputy leader. And the Senate Democrats have yet to name their leadership team, so I don't have those for you as of yet. We have several new members in our community college district that I'd like to mention. Jed Davis replaces Representative David Welter. Harry Benton replaces Mark Batnick, who retired. House Republican leader Jim Durkin, as you all know, just recently retired, and that seat is vacant, and I assume is going through a process here locally to fill that vacancy. Tom Bennett, who's a state representative, long-time state representative, has now taken over Jason Barrickman's seat in the Illinois Senate. Tom is a good friend and a great supporter of community colleges. Rachel Ventura is a new senator from this area who is Senate District 43, John Connor's old seat, and I already talked about. And Tom Bennett's House seat has yet to be filled too. So we got a couple vacancies there. I assume that they get the report that I send. Do they get that? Yeah. So at the end of my report, I put key dates that you all might just want to keep track of, things that are important, milestones in the legislature. The House and the Senate, honestly, the Senate comes back into session next week. The House is not. I think it's going to be more organizational types of things. You know, they're going to be appointed to committees. The committees might meet and organize. The House comes back the following week. The Senate's not in. They'll do the same thing. So I don't expect a lot of activity, although there's been a flurry of bills that have already been introduced. I think there was over 1,000 bills that were introduced like last Thursday. Yeah. So I have to read all those. So as far as the new year goes, you know, I think the governor mentioned in his address after he was sworn into office that, you know, he's going to make higher education, continue to make higher education a priority, which obviously is great for us. And funding for community colleges a priority. I think we have some great opportunities in this next spring session because the revenue that we collect has gone up a lot more than they all expected. There's probably a lot of opportunity for more capital projects. So I think we're going to have a conversation about that and see what we can do there. There's going to be other opportunities for workforce development programs, and then the governor's also talking about free college education for medium to low income families. I'm not sure how any of that's going to work out. We haven't seen any details or anything but obviously we're going to watch that extremely careful. So other than that, that's kind of where we're at right now. Like I said, they had tackled a bunch of big issues right before the new General Assembly was brought in. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next few months. The General Assembly is supposed to adjourn in the middle of May, which again is still a few weeks early, but I expect that they'll probably get that done. So I'm happy to answer any questions. That's
amazing.
easy.
There's no question.
I'm going to run back to my seat.
Oh. Well, if there's no questions, thank you all for apprising us of this today.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you.
And thanks again on top of it. 1.2.6, Dr. Bob Marsink.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Thank you.
Nice to see you all again. I had to show up in person because when I'm not here, I take a beating. So from one of my colleagues. So I'm glad to be here. We're glad to be back on campus. We're glad to see the semester start. I've already seen all of my students. Well, all of those who came this week, and the most of them did. And I'm excited about the semester. And I think a lot of us are. We've also, I'm not going to do any details, obviously, but we. Dr. Namuo started our little interest-based bargaining session last week, and I thought it went really well. I think we really learned a lot, and we're really looking forward to engaging in that process, and we've set up a lot of dates and stuff like that. So we're really happy about that. I do want to. I also want to make sure I don't forget a couple of things. One is I want to. I did not know Walt Zeta real well, but I knew Walt enough to say hi and talk to him at some events and stuff like that. And what people don't remember is that he's long time ago, he was actually an ag faculty member too. But just a gentleman, very, very nice man, and obviously instrumental in getting the foundation started and being a major player in that for so many years, and just a good man. And we were lucky here at JJC to have him, and that's all I'll say about that. Mm-hmm. Also, I do want to. Also, one other thing is I want to make sure I say that properly. Ms. Meyer. I want to, I forget, Rose, I'm sorry. 38 years is a long time. And she worked here at JJC. It just tells you that must be a pretty good place to work if you're willing to be here 38 years. And I will leave it at that, but thank Rose. I do want to say one last thing, and this is about I am really proud to be part of an institution that supports the food bank. And a little aside, when I was very young, we had 5 children and eventually had 7 children. And for a period of 48 out of 60 months, my father was out of work. And so he was hustling jobs, doing this, doing that, bartending, doing some other things that I won't tell you about, putting roofs on, cutting cards. I mean, he was doing a lot of different things to just make money, but it didn't all add up. And I remember very vividly, as probably 5 or 6 years, probably 5, because it was during the day, my mother driving us down to this place where this place, we just called it the cheese place, but where we would get federal food. We would get cheese and peanut butter and things like that. And it made a difference. And what we need to, and even though we would have survived, the fact is it made a difference. And everything we do to support the food bank and others, including Meals on Wheels and others, makes a difference, a huge difference in people's lives. And it's important to know that these are just people who have fallen on a hard time. My father listening, he eventually went back to work at the factory, but in order to ensure that he never had that problem again, he also got another job at a steel mill. So for 11 years, he worked 2 full-time jobs. I mean, real jobs, 80 hours a week, to make sure that never happened. But we dealt with it as a family, but with the help of some great government cheese and great government peanut butter, okay? And I also, Meals on Wheels, I just want to say something about that. They're a wonderful organization too. My mother, when after I lost my dad, she lived alone, and that visit by the Meals on Wheels people is sometimes the only person they see for several days. And it's not only just food, but it's a check-in. So keep that in mind. And I also want to congratulate our Technical Office Support Staff Council and our own faculty union for conducting a food gathering, what do we call it, donation here before the holidays that we turned over to the local, and we were applauded for the amount of food that this, and again, it wasn't just us, people from all over the college donated food, clothes, other things for the needy in the area. And that's all been distributed, and I was happy to be a part of that too. So this is a wonderful institution, a lot of good people here, and a lot of good things happening. And with that, thank you again for the opportunity to address you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. As always, thank you, Dr. Bob. And I believe we have 1.2.7. Laurel Disco, I think she's here. Yes, thank you.
Yes, we do. Good evening. And it's great to be back here, start a new semester. Today was my first day of class because we meet Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I got to meet my new students, and they were, all but one was there. We had a really great day. I wanted to talk a little bit about the adjunct faculty dinner and mini conference that we had last week, Thursday evening. It was the first time that we were able to have this in person in 3 years. And it was a great event. It was the one event for the week that was focused on adjunct faculty. And I want to thank Dr. Namuo for being there and speaking to the group, Dr. Gray as well. We appreciate both of your presence and your comments. We had a nice dinner from Food Services. They did a great job. And we had the speakers, and I had a little bit of time to talk about some of the things in our contract that adjuncts may or may not be totally aware of. And then we broke out into 3 separate breakout blocks of time, each with multiple choices for topics. So people had a choice of things that they could go learn about, new things about iCampus or the collaborative classroom, other kinds of topics. There was a group that went down to the Tutoring and Learning Center to see what was available there. All of these things, some people know about, some people don't. Adjuncts aren't here all day, every day, like full-time faculty. So there's a lot of adjunct faculty who come in the evening, teach their class. They're not here and don't learn about some of these resources. So this mini conference was a real opportunity to expose everybody to some of these things and educate our faculty. Like I said, it was great to have everybody back together. I hope that we can continue to do this on a regular basis like we used to do, and meet again in August before we start the next semester. And I'm looking forward to that as well. So other than that, I have no other special report. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here and wish everybody a great start to the new semester. Thank you.
Thanks, Laurel. Thank you very much. Okay, 1.3, minutes, 1.3.1, approval of minutes for the regular monthly meeting held on December 14th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Yeah, do a roll call on minutes, statutory obligation.
Oh, okay.
Always.
Okay. Trustee Broderick.
Aye.
Trustee Morales.
Yes.
Trustee Pazinski.
Yes.
Trustee Garcia Guillen.
Yes.
Trustee Lee.
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik.
Yes.
Trustee Stamborski.
Yes.
Trustee O'Connell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
1.4, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Karen, this is the motion for a voice vote.
Yep. Hang on. And was that Trustee Guillen that?
Yes.
Okay. And Trustee Morales, did you second? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Say no. Motion carried.
1.5, approval of the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
This calls for a roll call vote.
I'd like to, for discussion, pull out 3.1, 3.2.4, and 3.2.6.
What was the last one? What was the last one that you mentioned?
3.2.6.
Okay.
0.6.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Stamborski?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Aye.
Trustee Pazinski?
Yes.
Trustee Garcia Guillen?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
And Trustee O'Connell?
Yes.
Motion carried.
3.1.
Discussion.
Need a motion in a second?
So moved.
Second.
You letting me discuss? Okay. My concern falls, and I'm in the memo, the follow-up memo that we got last night from Dr. Namuo, where the trustee that pulled information, that was me, just so everybody knows. And yeah, I know, I've already gotten him on that one. I met with Karen Kessel today, and I think, and I've asked last two meetings in regards to the specifics related to this report, and I found out today that we don't generate it. Jerome generates this because it's a workday problem. There's not enough detail that's given, and I do specify more things that I'm concerned about, such as some of the expenses for airline and travel. I think we need to be a little bit more embedded in the right things to put on there. Not that it was more expensive and I booked it anyway with a United flight, things of that nature. And my concern falls into anything for lodging. Tell us who it is. The department, I know you don't want to mention names, but at least give us what it is. And there's more names, more initials that need to be identified, because when we look at the back of the book, and Karen and I went through this, correct, Karen? that there's not enough breakdown of the initials that are in your thing that you put. I'm glad you know it, but we're the ones that are approving the bills. And if we don't know what they are, I'm gonna ask. And I would like to decline from doing this, but I think we need to clean this up, and who's ever doing the input needs to do it better. And I know you don't have, the capabilities because it's gotta go through Jerome to do it, but it raises questions. It raises a lot of questions, and I don't like going through all of them, because, when we had Dr. Mitchell and the others before, they were used to it and knew it, and in looking at CoreLogic, that has had a better pattern from what Karen showed me today. So if we can do some cleanup, and I know Karen, we talked about that, and the two things that I did want to address, and I asked Karen to have those in front of her, was the two for Workday. If you could please give a little bit of detail about the two that are on page, bear with me, because this all falls under the bills. On page 3 of the bills, under Workday, for 118,329, and for Workday, 21,246.75.
Trustee Broderick, just for clarification, 3.1, page 3?
Page 3, 3.1, page 3.
And the amounts in question,
Yeah.
1 second here. 118,329 and 21,246.
Yeah, and then if all of you, and I'm gonna hand this out to Karen that we took, of 4.2.9 that was done in December of 2021.
Right.
If you can pass this out to this group and to this side. This involves this, and I think we all need to be aware of what was voted on and what's appearing so that Karen can explain, because this was given to me so that I understood what we did approve back in December of 2021 and what goes out to June of 2029. So Karen, could you give a little bit more detail? I know you weren't a Workday person at that time and employed at that time, but I think you understand the relationship of it.
Trustee Broderick, thank you for raising that. I think instead what we'll do is ask Jim Sir, our CIO, to provide a little bit more detail on 4.2.9 and the two items you referenced on page 3.
Thank you, Dr. Namu, trustees. Appreciate the opportunity to respond to the question. So in December of 2021, at that board meeting, we asked the board to approve additional modules for Workday, which are Workday Planning and Workday Prism Analytics. The contract for those modules is attached to our 10-year Workday subscription as a fixed cost. So there is no annual maintenance increase attached to that subscription. So that was attached to our 10-year subscription for Workday for those two additional modules. For Workday Planning, we have gone live and modernized the college's budget planning and request process. We went live in February of last year on Workday Planning, our first use case. In fact, we're getting ready to wrap up our second use case in Workday Planning, which is labor and workforce planning and modeling. We're in the process of that project with the finance team. Currently, we'll wrap that up here probably over the course of the next month or so. I'm looking at Jeff Heap. Jeff Heap and the finance team have been intimately involved in that initiative as well. And then on Workday Prism Analytics, we have gone live and done the work on our first use case in Prism Analytics, which is historical worker data, which is a project and initiative that Judy Connolly and the HR team have been very much involved in over the course of the last year or so. So those are two additional modules for Workday that we added back in at that board meeting in December.
So at that point, Jim, were we on target? Because in reviewing the RFP that came in, it said Workday would have us totally implemented between 5 months and 12 months. So when I'm looking at this, we approved Workday October 9th of 2019. The 5 of us that sat on the board, which was Dan, Jake, Nancy, myself, and Alicia. Jim and Michelle had nothing to do with that approval. So if we're looking at this as 2023, I guess I'm a little bit concerned as to when does the tenure start? Does the tenure start from this date or from when the implementation is fully in place, that we would start from that trigger date? Because this is a lot of money that we're spending. And if we didn't have success with getting it in place, those modules, why would we be charged? Why wouldn't we get some type of remuneration of credit back to us?
We're talking about two separate things. I heard you say October of 2019, which is for our core Workday contract, which is for the HR system, finance, and student. This before you, this action item here was for 2 additional modules that didn't occur until 2 years later. So, so to answer your question, Workday Planning and Prism Analytics have both gone live. As I just talked about previously, what you're talking about, I think, is the initial contract for Workday, which is for HR, finance, and the student system. We've gone live with HR, we've gone live with finance, we've gone live with the first phase of student on that initial contract. The cost of that is burdened or borne by the college at the execution date of the contract. So that 10-year subscription starts at the execution date of the contract.
Okay, then why wouldn't these 2 modules have been introduced at that point in time? Why are they after the fact? Why wouldn't this been inclusive in what we did for Workday? Because when you presented, and Jerome presented, it was we're going to get rid of all the Band-Aids and we were going to go with one flush system to do everything. And that was in 2019 because the RFP was done in 2018. So why then is this coming in 2021?
It's a good question. I would say what we got out of these 2 modules did not come until after we went live. We had to go live with the core HR and finance capability first before we could leverage and take advantage of some of the sophisticated planning, analytics, and dashboard capabilities that these modules provide. And also there were specific use cases in finance and in HR that required or would leverage a platform and technology like these 2 modules here.
Were these later updates that were brought in? Because according to the RFP, they do 2 updates per year. Right. And it seemed like the only update that we got as when we approved the thing in the Workday in 2019 was only 1 update in 2018. I didn't see the other follow-up of the update in 2018 or the 2 updates in 2019. So was this a failure on Workday to provide this information?
No.
Or did we fail?
Neither. These are 2 separate additional modules that provide different functionality than the core HR platform provides. As far as the update process is concerned, Workday delivers 2 major release updates a year. One is in March and the other is in September. So since we've gone live, our first go live was in July of 2021. We've had, I think, 3 major release updates over the course of that time, and we'll have our 4th coming up. Jerome, correct me if I'm wrong, this March will be our 4th major release update from Workday this March.
And then as far as when I'm looking at this with the AVAAP, does that still, when we're doing the Prism analytics stuff with the implementation, is that still with AVAAP?
That's the implementation of Prism Analytics only, yes.
But that's with AVAAP?
AVAP, correct.
AVAP. And I understand that that's on our agenda. Is AVAP been, and I know that Jerome's in the audience, have they been consistent? Because I hear there's a lot of turnover of employees and a lot of inconsistencies with AVAAP.
So let me clarify, Jerome is not with AVAP. Jerome is an independent consultant for the college that advocates on behalf of the college. So Jerome is not with AVAP. Jerome directs and coordinates, facilitates a lot of the work that AVAP, our Workday implementation partner, performs. So I want to clarify that first. And I'll say relative to AVAP, I don't want to get into a lot of the details here, but I think organizations across this globe, as part of the pandemic and for a lot of other reasons, have gone through a lot of transition, attrition, turnover of staff. It's not just been felt by JJC. Certainly AVAP, our implementation partner, we've seen some turnover of resources there. We've seen turnover of resources at Workday. We've seen turnover of resources with a variety of partners that the college does business with. So that issue is not germane to the college, to AVAP, or again, in my opinion, to a lot of other firms across this globe.
Okay, then I guess my other question falls into when you had the presentation on October 9th for the ERP modernization recommendation, Jerome gave it. So explain how Jerome gave that when I think some of us thought that he was an employee of JJC. So I'm trying to understand, because we hired him in 2017?
No,
2018?
No, 2019.
2019. Okay, so help me understand, because I'm trying to understand this workday, and this is a big bill.
Sure.
So I'm trying to understand how Jerome did the presentation to us, because I'm looking at the presentation he gave us from October 9th, and it's got Jerome's name all over it. So help me understand that.
Jerome is the program manager for the college. He represents, advocates on behalf of JJC. We pay him to perform as the program manager for our Workday implementation. At that time, did you say 2019? Dr. Mitchell would have asked Jerome to make that presentation to the board at that time, based on the role that he performs for the college.
Okay. So we are, even though we're taking some time off, we still have to pay this subscription because we're only taking the time off for the student area number 2 module?
Correct, student phase 2.
So everything else is working?
Correct.
And there's no problems with any of the other modules?
Right.
Trustee Broderick, one second. I'd like to invite Dr. Farmer to chime in real quick.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Namuo. So I want to call the board members' attention to the sole source 4.2.9. I just want to stress to everyone that we did use CARES funds, HERF funds to purchase this additional module for Workday. If I recall, I did share a presentation with the board just about the importance of utilizing technology to really support students and also employees. So this was 2 of the modules that we thought would be beneficial, that we would lean into our HERF funds to really support the students and employees institutionally. So I just wanted to point that out as well.
Okay.
Okay.
So the total
2029?
Yes.
No, I want to clarify that point. So the CARES Act funding was used for year 1 of the subscription for both planning and PRISM, as well as the implementation for both of those modules as well. Year 2 through 10 is to be borne by the college's typical software operating costs.
coming out of which fund? Our education fund?
So go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, it would be the education
The
fund.
education fund?
Jeff? Is Jeff, education fund?
Or the capital assessment or the technology
Auxiliary, okay.
So either of those two?
Yeah.
My comment is, we paid a lot of money for the Workday system to have to, pay more money for separate modules. I don't know. I wasn't here. I didn't get to read any of the information, and I haven't had time to come down and go through it all yet. I do plan to stay today to look at it, but is this something that's going to continue to happen where we're going to find things that, this might be great and might work well for us, but it wasn't something that, I feel like Workday should, if it's offering this service, or if I would have been there to see the rubric and look at the different companies that could have done this service for us, I just wonder, would this have been the same thing with, one of the other companies where we're constantly seeming like we're having to spend money?
Yeah, I would say the short answer is probably yes. It's a nuanced question because there's a lot behind that. I think part of the goal and part of the guiding principles that we developed within that RFP was to eliminate a lot of these third-party integrated and interfaced and associated systems and try to roll as much of that back into a core ERP or a core central system as we possibly could. Now, that being said, there's a lot of niche systems and applications that do a certain thing, perform a certain business function or process extremely well. Workday cannot develop all of those functionalities and capabilities within one system, typically. We have not seen that, for as long as I've been around. Certainly, you're always going to have third-party systems that perform a specific function extremely well. And at times, we will have to evaluate and consider, is there a third-party system that performs this function extremely well? One of those, as an example, might be dual credit or dual enrollment. I bring that up because of Dr. Namuo's vision on 12 by 12 by 12. We're already internally talking about a third-party system that does that stuff extremely well. Workday may not have that capability today to do dual enrollment or dual credit specific stuff within its system. So at those times, in those instances, we will have to evaluate third-party systems that do those type of things extremely well.
That kind of contradicts what was said to us back in 2019, that we kept having to do Band-Aids and bring other systems in and other things. So what you're telling us is what we did with Collegiate, which is Ellucian. So I guess my concern falls in, and I've done a lot of research with Ellucian and colleague and anthropology now, and I'm wondering if Workday is really higher education specific to us, because we have a lot of needs. And if you look at the list of colleges that are with them, it's minimized, totally minimized. So it leaves a level of high level concern for me when I'm voting on something that's such a high cost issue with us. And I guess I am looking for stability in who we choose, because we were with Ellucian for what, 20 years?
30 plus.
Okay, 30 plus years. And then you look at them going to the cloud and going everywhere to increase and give capabilities. And I listen to people that are in community colleges are with it. I guess I am struggling with our cost and the failure for us to get within 5 to 12 months, as their ERP said, that they would get it, and their RFP came through that said 5 to 12 months, and they were structured in 2016 with higher education. So costs to me are very sensitive with Workday.
Sure. I appreciate the question and the concern. We have the same concern, certainly, about cost. It's a big question with a lot of different parts. We'll probably need more time to kind of unpack that, and I'm happy to, through Dr. Farmer and Dr. Namu, provide additional detailed information. I'd say we're very early from a maturity standpoint. Workday, in fact, does have 32 colleges live on the student system. They have probably 200 or more live on HR and finance, in higher education specifically. We are a pioneer. I think that is true to our tradition as the nation's first, true to our core value as being innovative. So we're on the front end of the modernization of ERP systems and technology that is very much happening within higher education. We're on the front end of that curve. And so last year, 2022, we processed over 21,000 student applications in Workday as part of our phase 1 go live. In fact, the reason why we picked student recruiting and admissions first is because it's the most mature offering that Workday has. It goes back to 2013, 2014, when their first customer in higher education went live on recruiting and admissions, which is why we chose as phase 1 to go that route. We knew at the time that the rest of the Workday student product was going to take some time to mature. We felt like our decision in 2019 would time it right with going with HR and finance first, allow Workday some more time for the student system to mature and evolve, which it has. That being said, we know there are some limitations in the product, especially around financial aid capability. We feel like Workday is over a $6 billion company. They have the resources. They are investing in the student product. They're hiring more people. We feel like the pace of their innovation, product development, and enhancement will catch up with our needs over the course of time. Time being between 1 and 2 to 3 years.
But why then, in the RFP, it did not mention, it said that they handled the student services. They didn't break out stage 1, stage 2. So how were we to know, as the voting members, the 5 of us that voted for it, how are we to know that this is a failure, that they didn't have student service number 2 ready for us? Because that now has created a lot of concern that's been elevated by the employees, by everyone here, the cabinet too. It's an expense that's gone a little bit more than what I think we encountered it to be. And then when we're seeing something on the agenda for another situation, we have to be secure in what we're doing. And we can't go by promises, Jim. And I look at it as, I'm looking at what I commit to and I sign to. It's got to be in print and we can do it. And I look at nothing but promises that you're speaking of now of 2 to 3 years. That's not something that I can deal with here with our taxpayer money and our money, and we increased tuition, which Alicia's furious about. And then we've got all this money on the table. I can't live with a promise. I need a secure situation of what we can do with this ERP system.
Let me respond to the first part of that. As part of our RFP process and the evaluation, and I want to give kudos to Jerome because he was instrumental in our quantitative analysis of the final vendors, which did not include a Lucian colleague at the time. The final 2 vendors were Workday and at the time Campus Management. Campus Management is no longer a viable entity. It has been acquired by Anthology. As part of that process, we developed 1,300 requirements across HR, finance, and the student system. 1,300 specific functionality requirements that the college needed as part of its system. Workday and the others were very open, honest, and transparent in responding to all 1,300 plus of those requirements. We went back and we've done a review of those requirements. We reviewed how the vendors responded. So they were very upfront and honest as to how they responded to those requirements at that time. I agree with you. I think we're all frustrated by some of the limitations that exist. I'm not here to make any promises on behalf of Workday, on behalf of Lucian, on behalf of Anthology, or any other partner that we deal with. That is not my role and function as the CIO of this college. I'm here to advocate on behalf of the college to make sure that from a leadership and a vision standpoint, that we are at the forefront of technology, that we're diligent in our evaluation and review of those technologies as we bring them to bear here on campus. And so that being said, there's not a perfect ERP system in the marketplace. We felt like after a very extensive evaluation, and we took additional time in that evaluation to make sure that we dotted every I and crossed every T, that we felt like we ended up with the right product at the end of the day. My personal opinion and perspective is that Workday will live up to that commitment and we'll have the system that we need as we go into the future. And we will be at the leading edge from a competitive standpoint to provide our students the best possible experience that we can provide here at the college as we look to remain relevant in an increasingly competitive higher education environment. So I'll leave my comments at that. I know we're over time. I'm happy to provide any additional information and details, like I said, through Dr. Farmer and Dr.
I have one more comment.
Sure.
Since we are the first college and we're always the one that's the leader, why aren't we, if we're the first ones with Workday to work on this, why aren't we, and as we are the guinea pigs to Workday, why aren't they not requiring us to pay and using us as the example instead of us paying all these millions out for this? Because if we are the example that they haven't proven, because I understand that when you guys did your reference check and everything, 2 other colleges were checked and they did not have ample opportunity to have sufficient student service data given to them. And that should have been something that highlighted, that came back in the negotiations that said, you should be using us as the example and not us paying out.
So I'm here to tell you that we negotiated aggressively, and that will play itself out in colleges that have gone with Workday or will go with Workday in the future. There's many colleges right here, our peers, that today have RFPs in the streets that will be making similar decisions. So we negotiated aggressively. We negotiated a fixed 10-year contract, which means we know what that cost is over the course of the next 10 years. That is contrary to what happens with software and technology firms, where you see anywhere between 5 and 7, 10% annual increases on those subscription costs. So I feel like we did our due diligence. We were aggressive in our negotiating in that contract. We are having conversations with Workday about a potential concession relative to the limitations in the student product today. We are awaiting a response, which we should have here over the course of the next week or so from Workday on that front. Dr. Namul is aggressively working with Workday as well. And so I feel like we'll have some more progress here as we go forward on that front. But the question is noted and relevant.
And you have to be sensitive to us. We are out there as the taxpayers' advocates. And if we don't exercise fiscal responsibility, we failed as a trustee. And we failed our students and our taxpayers. And I think that's why I am bringing this up, because I am concerned about things that we vote on that are money-wise.
I have another comment. It may be a fixed cost, but if we have to keep voting to add more money into this, then it's not a fixed cost over 10 years. And also, if in the original contract, which I have not read yet, it says that they were going to be ready to go live in 5 months, 6 months to a year with all 3 phases. I know that they were honest in their rubric about their capabilities, and maybe they were honest in that, hey, this may be a trouble spot for us. I have to go back and look at that.
I think we're confusing a couple of the issues. There was no commitment by Workday to go live with HR, finance, and student in 6 to 12 months.
Okay. Why not? What was when was there?
Timeline that was established as part of our statement of work with the implementation partner, who is AVAP. They are responsible for the implementation of the system, HR, finance, student. Jerome, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the entire length of time is about 3 years for all 3 phases. So I'm not sure where we're pulling the 5 to 6 or 6 to 12 months. I think that might be separate for PRISM and planning versus
I thought you
for
said
Workday.
that, so that might have just been something you were speaking of that I was confusing.
I just want to clarify.
So it's actually AVAP then that is responsible for not
implementation.
Workday. So AVAP is who we need to be looking at, and I've seen a lot of money going to them as well. So if their promise then was that they were going to be able to have this up and running in 3 years, is what you're saying then? I'm just looking at the 10-year period and what we're paying, just looking at it this way. So if 3 years, we knew that, we might not, so look at when is it up and running and actually working, we're really only getting 7 years out of that if they have it up and running by that 3 years. So I'm just, looking into the cost of all of this and what we're actually getting out of it and how many years we're actually getting out of it is all I'm saying to look at in this cost and in this price.
And then too, Jim, on Jerome's presentation, the focus areas of specifications identified were student development, academic affairs, administrative services, HR, and informational technology. So how would we as the board have known that student services 1 and 2 weren't included in this? Because when we're looking at student development, academic affairs, administrative services, HR, and information technology, I don't remember seeing anything telling us 5 that it didn't have the student service part in it, other than what we're seeing that was on the presentation by Jerome.
Yeah, I don't have the presentation in front of me that you're looking at, so I can't speak exactly to what that presentation contains.
And Trustee Broderick, I think what I'd like to offer and just recommend to the board, we've got an opportunity to get into all of this on February 1st at the board workshop. Now, normally the board expects to receive a presentation about the budget and finance in advance of the budget development cycle. You will still get that. I believe we're planning a presentation on the upcoming development of the strategic plan as well, Dr. Farmer. I think what I would offer at this point, consider the breadth and depth of interests that are being raised. I would ask and recommend to the board that we take all of this and put it straight into the workshop, and the board receive a deep dive into the status of Workday at the February 1st workshop. Okay.
Jim, real quick. So when we do that, you have to consider our background. And I think with the exception of Trustee Baczynski, maybe he's the only one that has some technology background, but he wasn't here back then. He wasn't here back then. We all have different, so it's easy to share information that sounds great and we're going to get a vote and we're going to approve it because I did, but I don't know enough to know what we're not being told. And if it wasn't transparent enough then, I have just a huge concern, and I have lost sleep over this. Like, what did we approve? If we're going to constantly be bleeding out money, no. I'm not happy with that. And we rely on people like yourself and your team that have expertise, that you all are going to review every document that hits your desk, and you're going to see things we're not seeing, that you know what we don't know, because you're the expert. That's why you're here. So we want to make sure that if you know that the presenter's not giving us everything, you supplement that. Let us know. That's where I'm really not happy with this right now, and we'll talk more on February 1st, but thank you.
I appreciate you raising the concern. I will say it's not just my team. I want to make sure that I...
No, yours and maybe the financial team?
No, it's really the college, right? I mean, we developed a 20-member cross-functional ERP committee.
Yes, you did. The committee.
Which was IT, HR, finance, student development, academic affairs, institutional research. So cross-functional.
Yes.
And we went through a 15-month evaluation process.
Yes.
And so even myself, as an information technology person, when you're talking about 1,300 requirements, in HR and finance and student development, academic affairs, we had not only the people at the table, but we had vendors come in for multiple day demonstrations of the product, of the functionality. But again, you're talking about a 2-day demonstration of a product, until you actually get into an implementation and you're seeing how the product, the functionality, how do we register students, how do we conduct financial aid, until you actually get into that implementation, it's very hard to see around corners and see some of these functionality limitations that exist until you get deep into the implementation of those processes and understand how do we need to serve the students, how does the system work, and how do we configure the system appropriately to make sure that happens. So there's a reason why you do this once every 30 years. We've seen all of that. We've been extremely successful. We did the majority of this through a pandemic, which none of us saw. When we came to the board in October of 2019, we certainly didn't know that 4 months later a pandemic was going to hit. It did. We paused for a month and we pushed forward, and we've been successful with the things that we've gone live. And I expect that we'll continue to be successful as we push forward. Yes, there's some obstacles. We'll identify solutions, alternatives, workarounds. We'll continue to make progress. The staff will continue to mature in their expertise and their use of the system, and we'll truly get to leverage the investments that this board committed to a few years ago, continues to commit to, of course, because we're paying on an annual basis for that subscription. But my personal perspective and opinion is that we'll get there. We're on the front end. We've seen every obstacle you can imagine and then some, but we continue to work. This staff has worked incredibly hard, long hours, all through the pandemic to get us to where we're at today, and we'll continue to be successful as a result of those efforts specifically of our staff. So.
And in regards to the stuff at the retreat, Dr. Namuo, can you make sure we address the master subscription agreement, the universal security exhibit, the universal data processing exhibit, the RFP and the ERP, so that we can see how all companies had either mastered all of the conditions of the RFP or not, so that we have security in knowing what was presented and how the committee saw it. And if you too, I know Dr. Farmer has people that are users, if we can have any users there that can tell us the ups and downs of what the system has done for them, so that we have a true understanding of the users and how they handle it. And I hope the board agrees with me, because I think this is an inclusive thing that we need to. This is the biggest expense that we have ever approved. We need full disclosure and full transparency on it.
That's agreed. So let's move forward on this. And
We have to vote? You still need to vote on 3.1 because there's all the other bills that are in 3.1. So we just need a roll call vote on 3.1. It's been seconded or motioned and seconded.
Motion and seconded.
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Garcia Guillen?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Abstain.
Trustee Pazinski?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Stamborski?
Yes.
Trustee O'Connell?
Yes.
Motion carries.
So 3.2.4 and 3.2.6. I would suggest that we put that together with the February 1st meeting and include that.
Well, the 3.2.4 has nothing to do with workday at all. The other one does.
Chairman, I think what we've got to do is, since these are procurement items, 3.2.4, we've got to board's got to act on that today, and same for 3.2.6.
Okay.
Motion for 3.2.4.
Second.
Question I have, it says that we agreed to that in our collective bargaining. Is any of this cost of the 42.5, that's not to exceed the 42.5, split between us and the union? Or is it all of us that is going to be paying the fee for the comprehensive study?
Trustee Broderick, thank you. I'm going to invite our interim Chief Human Resources Officer, Judy Connolly, to the podium to address that.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you. We agreed on this during negotiations to keep the contract moving forward. It is a cost that we would absorb by the college because it was our responsibility to help build out the compensation structure. As these two unions, it was a clerical and a support union merged.
And then with regards to this, does this go to any other union? Because my concern, I understand what you're saying. If this one comes out and shows that those positions should be higher, are we then tending to use this? Is there going to be something in for other unions, or is this just exclusive to this group?
This work right now is exclusive to this group. The methodology, though, may be applied to other groups. But if you consider the types of unions, like adjunct are all part-time faculty, full-time faculty, police, facilities, like they're unique. They don't have as many job titles, job profiles. This is second to the adjunct union. This is the largest union on campus with 350 people and 170 titles. So the work in their support level positions, which would be different than like administrator professional jobs. So very similar methodology that we can apply, but it is unique to this group. Right now, we're just going to be focusing for the next 4 months on the work for that unit.
Okay, then my next question is, are we still stuck being penalized as the college if we go above 6% in a salary increase? Because isn't there a cap on salary increase? And does the college then have to pay that portion above the 6%?
If an individual exceeds 6% in a final year's earnings, so like if they retire and SERS takes their 4 final highest years, if there's a greater than 6% increase between any 2 years, then the employer will receive a bill because the annuity costs more. That does not apply to people that are in the retirement savings or the self-managed plan. And again, it only affects people if it's in that window of their 4 highest consecutive years. We do try to manage that. We have policies. We have collective bargaining language in all the union contracts. We have policy that says, the college will consider that as a factor, as we're doing increases or compensation work. We just have to be mindful of it. We've tried to be conservative and manage that. Other employers, colleges and universities just take the cost and they just say that's a part of doing business, whatever that resulting bill is.
I'm just asking because I want to know, because that came up to us when we did others.
Yes.
That's why I'm concerned to see where it's at and what's going on.
Right. And when we did our admin professional, we split that cost over a couple of years and kept it under 6%.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Voice vote. Roll call. Trustee Buzinski?
Yes.
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Yes.
Trustee Garcia Guillen?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Stamborski?
Yes.
Trustee O'Connell?
Yes.
Motion carried.
3.2.6.
I would ask that we table this one then, since it's in regards, I know it's on, but is there anything that we can do to table because it's associated with workday?
So Trustee Broderick, let me keep Judy there. And Judy, can you share with the trustees kind of the value of ALEC Consulting and what Lisa does for us?
Right. So we realized through the implementation, the lift for the HR team, and while the implementation partners were great, to get us up and running, they could not go in and actually like do testing and carry out the scenarios between payroll and HR and student employment. So we needed to look for somebody. And we interviewed Jerome and Jeff and the Chief Human Resources Officer and we interviewed like 10 people. We ended up with Lisa. So she's been with us now on and off for a couple of years. She is great for augmenting our HR team with any kind of technical questions we have more on a daily basis. We can put in a work order with our third party, AVAP, and get on their list. We have hours that we can use for that, but we need someone to say, okay, here's why this failed today, or this request came in for security, because we're doing a lot of things now in HR. We're pretty much happy Workday users, I'll say that, so we can come to your meeting and talk about our experience. But we need something day by day. We've taken a lot of the responsibility, like that used to be maybe IT or at a Lucian that they would do, and we do those things now in HR. So having Lisa available a few hours a week to work with our HRIS generalist has been great for our team.
But shouldn't that have been AAV, whatever that initials are? Shouldn't that have been, because when we said implementation, because that's what Workday said they couldn't do, we had to hire somebody else for implementation.
So the implementation partners, did their scope of responsibilities. But when it came, they'll say, we cannot be in Workday, like performing an action that you, employer, need to test. So we needed someone that could help. We were short at the time. We had people leave during the pandemic. We were down a couple of individuals and trying to go live. And we've just transformed how we look at that type of work. We are responsible for building out business processes in HR, in the system, and that's where we just need some slight assistance on a daily basis, and Lisa has been able to provide that. She's a higher education professional, Workday professional, former consultant. Now she owns her own consulting company.
And Judy, I was thinking back to Trustee Broderick's earlier comment. Lisa has been connected to us through the Workday implementation all those years, but her employer has changed, has it not?
Yes.
Wasn't she part of either Workday or AVAP initially?
Originally, she was part of another consulting company, and then she left, and then we hired her as an employee.
Part-time, okay.
And then she opened up a consulting company, and we changed our out-of-state policies and things like that. Right. So now she's a consultant. And very minimal. I mean, what we use her now, we did budget in the fall, and we kind of went through that money. We had some special projects. She's continuing to support the student employment, which resides in the career services. She helps with payroll here and there, especially the things that connect HR to payroll. And again, we get quick turnaround, day by day if we need it. And she's also training our team. She spends more time, like the knowledge transfer, like this is how you do it now yourself in the future. And it's
shouldn't Workday have been doing that?
Well, not Workday,
but what we're paying. I'm trying to understand how one group does one thing, one does another, and then we have to bring somebody else, and we're paying a fortune here and a lot of money here, and all of a sudden we have to have this one. Right. So help me understand that.
We primarily needed it due to staff turnover and knowledge consistency. And, during the past couple of years, we've been hit, and as other departments have, and that consistency with Lisa, who can get in the system and actually perform transactions for us and do the testing. Like our third party AVAP will teach us how, but they won't go in and sit with us while we do it or help us. We have to put in a ticket then to troubleshoot. So it's just been great for the team, very supportive. We've built out a whole HRIS area now. And again, we're doing the security pieces, a lot of reporting.
So if what I'm hearing is correct, we have this large company that we're paying for the implementation of this very large Workday system. However, like Trustee Morales was saying, we all are at different points with technology. And so she basically comes in and helps where there may be some gaps, and where you said in the beginning you can get on a list with AVAP and they will eventually contact you back. But for more immediate things, is what you said in the beginning, she has been very helpful in helping implement some of those things. So that's what you're saying. So again, with the workday, and what we're saying is that we're bleeding money from this system, and it's why as a board we're questioning this. It's great that you like Workday, and definitely come and stand up for it, because we don't know how much we like it on this end. And but, you know, we don't know what the other systems may have been either. And I haven't been able to look at the rubrics. So with everything in technology, things change, and you can never see around every corner. So
If Workday is performing correctly, is this still needed? Would this have been needed anyway, additional consulting to get through the implementation or the training per se?
I wouldn't say that Workday was not performing. It was more, how do we get to where we want to be with the business process changes, or the immediate ones where something isn't calculating the way it should, or all of a sudden the annual accruals don't happen for a PTO plan or something. We're like, let's look at this and what can we do? And our third party will say, go out to the community and do your own research. They're trying to teach us to be self-sufficient, which we're growing into, but sometimes we just need that ability. If I could hire a part-time
for
staff
saying we don't know the answer.
So my working understanding is that this is like a tutor, essentially.
It's like a help. I mean, it's like a tutor. There's a lot of knowledge transfer is one of the most important
So
pieces.
if you don't understand something, if you're doing math and you don't understand it, and some numbers are being spat out that you don't understand, you have someone there to help you out with that, that does know the system more inside and out. That's my working understanding, correct?
Yes, and she has amazing ability to communicate that technical knowledge to individuals and to groups, and she can also step in a meeting and help facilitate where we're trying to figure out where we want to be. It's not so clear with the process. So that's what we're relying on her for. And I don't see this continuing probably beyond June. We're asking for this just for the remainder of this fiscal year.
So was she technically with Workday then?
No.
Initially, when you said she was?
She was a Workday user, and she's consulted. We went with a company that she used to work for that provided Workday consultants. We just needed her to help with the end-to-end testing, and again, the scenarios like, hire a new employee, take it through termination, wait for payroll to do their steps, wait for reporting, accrual, all of that. We needed someone to be able to help in the system.
But we weren't aware of this when we approved it in 2019, correct? That we needed her?
We thought we could do it, and some employers can. We had some significant, our senior recruiter and our regular recruiter, we had no one in recruitment right before we went live. We had downloaded the files for transfer, and we're suddenly without 2 to 3 HR people. So that was what kind of said, we can't, there's only so many hours the team can do on these scenarios. And it wasn't something that I could just teach, I couldn't teach anyone. So, in talking with the team, we decided to look for independent.
These positions are now filled.
They continue to turn over. We just had a recruiter, but we're self-sustaining now. I mean, pretty much. We have an HRIS person that didn't exist before, so a position that is pretty much all HR Workday and HRIS.
Would you say the time we had the vacancies, the money that wasn't spent on salaries, would that make up for this expense?
Yes, and that's what this is coming out of the HR budget with unfunded salaries for this fiscal year. It's not coming out of the Workday budget. Yes.
Okay.
So if I could have, again, put it out as a new hire for staff or a temporary hire, I would, but I don't think we'll see that kind of talent in our area that can just work on an as-needed basis.
Got it.
And Judy, just to respond to Trustee Broderick's earlier question that she raised, the implications then of tabling might impact the level of service that you and your department would be able to provide to the college. Would that be fair?
Yes.
To say? Okay.
Yes.
So considering that, I think my recommendation would remain that we engage Lisa through this board action for another. And remind us what the duration is then?
Through the end of the fiscal year with a not to exceed $30,000.
Okay.
One final quick question on this. So she did consulting work, and I understand Jerome does consulting work too. So Jerome, you don't have that skill set to consult this area? Or?
Jerome
Sorry.
could probably answer. I can. I mean, I
Go
know
ahead.
Jerome knows a lot of these questions. He doesn't have the bandwidth to like field the HR team calls.
You know, I'm so happy we can have time in February and
Right.
give more
Right.
time. You know, a lot of these presentations, we're only given 5 minutes to try to present some very big concepts of what we're doing. For anyone who's ever gone through these, you know, I heard a lot of things today that we could just spend hours just talking through. You know, when you think of releases, as someone mentioned, you know, the 2 releases a year, it's kind of like your cell phone getting an update.
Mm-hmm.
And Workday does those, and we have been working those, but those are very separate from some of the other topics. So I took a lot of notes, and hopefully we can get into this and really get a good explanation of how things are going, all the different aspects, so we understand all the key players, and what those players are doing, and what they're responsible for that statement of work, and what was approved by the board, and what we've gone through. And if given the time, also give some history of kind of how we got from where we started when I came on board, all the way through to where we are today, just kind of paint that story of, you know, what happened within that, the turnover, and all of these other things, both across the board, so we can get there. So again, you know, I think we have a lot of things up and running in Workday today, from, as we said, HR, payroll, benefits for all employees, and then we've got some student items that are also up and running. Then we'll get into those, like what is actually happening right now and kind of where we are. So again, I think there's good stories to tell, and when I say a good story, we can give you, I think Kelly said it earlier, you know, let's tell you the story of how we got to where we're going, and then answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you.
Yes.
Motion to approve 3.2.6 as written.
Second.
Trustee Bazinski?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Aye.
Trustee Garcia Guillen?
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Stamborski?
Yes.
Trustee O'Connell?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Except you're next.
Okay, then, now we're down to, new, old business. New business, old business 4.1.
So 4.1, board policies, maintenance, and distribution is very basic. It states that it is the college's primary function to create policy, and it is the president's role to make sure that we maintain those policies and distribute them.
Okay. Then we got 4.2, point 1, point 2, and, yeah.
And Chairman, those were on the consent agenda. Those passed today.
Good. And 4.3, approval of the recipients of the J.D. Ross Extraordinary Service Award.
I make that motion to approve the recipient.
Second.
Trustee Broderick?
Aye.
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Bazinski?
Yes.
Trustee Garcia Guillen?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Stamborski?
Yes.
Trustee O'Connell?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And 4.4,
Motion to table?
Second.
Voice vote. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries.
thank you. So we're down to 5.0, President's Report.
Now we have agenda requests for
We
trustee.
have 4.0.
Oh, the 4.5, agenda request by a trustee.
I have something that I'd like to ask about. For policy, if it falls under policy, under the employee handbook, who does that fall under? That fall
The
under?
employee handbook is different than the policies and procedures.
That's what I'm asking, that's what I'm asking, so I don't know who it falls under.
That would be HR, general.
HR, okay. Then I am going to ask HR and Dr. Namuo and Dr. Farmer, since it's inclusive, professional appearance that appears in there. It says, even though the dress code is business casual, I think we need to define business casual, because there's been a lot of concern about business casual and how business casual is looking, so that nobody's clubbing when they're here. So if we can address what business casual means and how it should be, what the attire should be for business casual, because we in banking have to have a professional business look, and they identify what our look has to be. Otherwise, it's rooms for being reprimanded.
So
I don't know that that's necessary. I think you're just raising an issue to the.
I'm raising an
not really
issue.
Agenda item,
Right, I'm asking as a trustee, a request that we identify what business casual is and define it. I think there needs to be a definition. Just to put business casual.
I understand your statement. I think that just from the policy, just to refresh the board's recollection, the purpose of 4.5 is that if you want to get something on the agenda, it's whether it's initiative or.
Okay, then I want to get this on the agenda.
Well, generally, we don't approve the employee handbook through the agenda process because the board doesn't do that. That's the job of HR and the president.
Okay.
I think that's something directly that you can communicate to the president, and then it's the president's responsibility to implement that through the HR.
Well, we're learning. This is a new thing.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it.
Policy-making board, and that would be overstepping our bounds because that's more procedure, and I think that you should know that.
I look at the definition of what business casual is, and when I see somebody walking around that I don't think
I
is business
understand
casual,
how you feel.
I
as
don't
a
want
trust-
to
I
say.
understand, but again,
say something to them.
We are trustees. It is not our job to micromanage the
microing.
colleges and how they run. We are a policy-making board, so
Exactly.
we wouldn't
And I'm
have
looking
anything
for
to do
something
with
to
dress
define
code.
What business casual means. I end it.
All right, we got it.
Thank you. Noted, duly noted. Thank you.
So then, since we're still under confusion about what 4.5 actually is to us,
Yeah.
earlier in presentation with Kelly, she mentioned the difficulty in finding student volunteers or people to put in extra hours in. We have a trustee that joins us once a month, puts in an awful lot of time. We see the presentations he puts together and stuff. And I know we have no ability for compensation, but is there other things we could do to help us bring these people in? Because we already know the value of all of them. But we're asking them to come in on a night they may not have classes, there's gas, and they're not working individuals, they're students. And keeping that in mind, is there something we can do to enhance the people or the opportunities for the people that work with Kelly? For him to find someone to take his place next year, or volunteer, or even be willing, you know, it's hard to say, well, what do you get out of this position? Well, you lose one night a month. You end the few, you know, hours each week you have to put into it, and the gas money's all on you. You interested? You know, so I'm just wondering, is there something we can do when we're looking for student volunteers, knowing what they provide for us? Yeah. And again, not knowing if this belongs under 4.5 or if that's something that is a workshop item or something.
Well,
first, if I may ask, does this belong in 4.5?
I agree.
Quiet, this
that
is
it
my
does.
item.
It's a policy. The student trustee is a policy. I'm not, but then the procedure of how you implement that may be up to the college. So, what do you think?
Well, I think what you're talking about is, you know, your budget, right? And you go through a budget process. And so what you're talking about is, you know, having the capacity within your budget to allocate funds towards student volunteers and people that, you know, essentially volunteer their time to the college. And so that's part of your budget process, okay? Going back to the policy about what 4.5 was, one of the things that policy tried to do, and the policy committee spent a lot of time crafting that policy, was to give trustees the ability, and the public in certain circumstances, the ability to put things on the agenda that are actionable items. And so it's initiatives, it's things that are, you as the board are making decisions on. And we had instances in the past, I know that there's members on this board that will remember where we had certain trustees that would just be directing the staff to, research a particular national recognition day and get that on the calendar. And resources were being spent, and that board at the time said, hey, wait a minute, we want to curtail that. We want the whole board to say, do we want that on the agenda or do we not want that on the agenda? And that's the idea here, is to give you a chance to talk about those things, because we're not going to take action on them, but then you have a chance to talk about them as a board and say, yeah, that's something that we're interested in, and we would like that to be on a future agenda for us to discuss. That's how that goes down. And so, and then it puts that in a process for the staff then, for, the president and everybody to then bring it forward to you. So we've had different initiatives over the last couple of years that, because this policy wasn't in place, it was clumsy to get in front of the board, it was clumsy to get on the agenda, and then it didn't have a defined process to resolution. And sometimes that would cause things that were very important to languish or to not get done in an effective manner. And that policy was designed to streamline that.
Question though, should there be like when you're talking about a research thing, should there be a majority support for it to be done, or should just one board member be able to request it? Because I don't know if that's ever been addressed, if one asks for it or two asks for it, which is a minority versus a majority. Is there something that's defined in that to say that?
It should generally be something that the board supports as an initiative. Now, that doesn't obligate the board to approve it, but, and then in the course of the president dealing with it and trying to bring it actually to the agenda, he may say to you, hey, I've researched this and it's either financially we're not capable of doing it, practically we're not capable of doing it, and explain to the board why that is. And then the board can then again make a policy decision, oh, we want to provide more resources to that, or we want to provide a better process for that. So that's how that process, but there should be general consensus on the board when you want to add an agenda to the item, either for action or for discussion. There should be general consensus on the board that, yeah, that's something we want on there. So we don't have just random items on the agenda that aren't supported by the board that the college staff is putting energy and resources towards addressing.
Right.
Sorry.
In regards to Jim then, on this month's bills, and Josh, can you share those two items that were paid to you so that
Yeah.
everybody understands what those two items were?
So there's actually a lot of stuff that I have to say about this discussion real quick, but I'll answer the question really fast. So I got a $750 check. That was for an undergraduate research project that I worked on. So I was sticking my hand in carp tanks and cleaning them. So that was what that first one was for, very fun. And then the second one was a stipend it was a $350 stipend for the fact that I sit on the executive council of student government. This comes with my position. As student trustee, I sit on the executive council of the student government, but it's not really compensation for student trustee as much as the executive council position, if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. I just wanted you to explain so that everybody knew, because that was in what we approved tonight. So I think that they should know that there was $2 amounts that were out there on the bill pay,
Well, mine was tied into what Kelly said earlier about finding the individuals. We asked her for something. At the same time, it requires her to have volunteer staff. And that's why, not to have a carrot in front of them, but there's got to be an incentive. And everyone does things for an incentive, whether it's monetarily, fame, fortune, whatever. But we want to be able to give a student a reason to want to be a part of this.
I think it may not have to be monetary. I think we may have to say we can give them some tuition credit.
That's what I'm looking at, anything. We may not be able to do monetary if he's a trustee, because a trustee is a defined position.
If I may enter into this discussion here.
Sure, why not? We're talking about you.
You kind of stole my thunder a little bit. I was going to bring this up, and it kind of got away from me. So that was on me. But this is a discussion that I've been thinking about for quite some time, and it's an equity problem. So me as the student trustee, I am very lucky and fortunate in the fact that I, at this time, don't have to work a second job to maintain this position. There are several, I've been looking since about September, been pretty proactive about this, where I've been looking for student trustees to succeed me in this position. I want to make sure that they have a good onboard ramp and they don't get here and they freak out and panic. So what I've been doing is I've been looking around for new student trustees. And the main problem I keep running into is that they are interested in the position, but they can't afford it. They run into this issue where if they want to spend the time on this position that it deserves, they need to quit their part-time job. This is a major equity problem because it precludes a large chunk, anecdotal, but a large chunk of the people who are interested in this position from ever being the student trustee. I feel like this needs to be addressed, if that answers your question.
Dr. Farmer?
Absolutely, Dr. Namuo, and I agree with you 100%, Trustee Stemborski. In fact, Cindy Vasquez-Barrios, where are you? I'm just going to wave to you really quickly, but I just want to remind the board that the current student trustee qualification in the selection process is documented through ICCB. So it's definitely an agenda item that we can add. In fact, I want to commend Cindy Vasquez-Barrios and Dr. Amy Sims. They've actually put together a proposal for us to review. So I will be reviewing that with Dr. Namuo, and we will be prepared to provide that proposal to the board, hopefully, if you like, Dr. Namuo, at the workshop as well.
Well, this is going to be a long workshop.
We're going to be there for
That's why we're starting at 6 a.m.
What time is that workshop?
5
Oh.
a.m. 5 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
No.
No, it's
I won't be there 5 a.m.
So you could have just waved your hand and I would have stopped. I was just, again, I was bothered by what she said. If we're passing up talent because of reasons we can control.
And this is specifically for the student trustee position, but again, I can definitely have some conversations with Kelly RT and Dr. Namuo about the ambassadors, et cetera.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, reports.
All right, Chairman, thank you. I'll take it from here. Chairman O'Connell, trustees of the board, and members of the JJC community, thank you for joining us today. I want to acknowledge just a few things that are not on my slide. This most recent discussion is a fascinating one, and I think if what results from our discussion at the executive leadership level then serves to inform policy changes, then that's going to eventually run through the policy committee. And I really appreciate the board's consideration. And Trustee Budzinski, I think it's not even a break-even proposition. When you're signing up, you're losing money. We all know that Trustee Stamborski wasn't here in December because, well, he had a final to take. So it's not just, there's some significant opportunity costs in terms of, what you could be doing for your time. So on behalf of a grateful president, we commend you as a student, that you are indeed a student first, but thank you for your service to this board, and the trustees, thank you for attention to and acknowledging the service that our student trustee provides. Want to acknowledge some birthdays, allegedly, in the month of January. Chairman, I wasn't going to call out today. I wasn't going to say the day for privacy purposes, but you divulged that. So happy birthday to you, Chairman O'Connell. Allegedly, we also have a dropped foot today. Allegedly, we also have another January birthday. So happy belated birthday to Trustee Morales. Congratulations to you. I want to acknowledge again just KRT's great presentation today. She's really stepped in to this expanded role as executive director of strategic engagement, and you saw artifacts of that expanded role, and her having a full team in marketing and communications. I'm excited and optimistic about what the future holds for marketing, communications, and strategic engagement. Want to acknowledge Mike's partnership with Northern Illinois, as Bob acknowledged, as many of you acknowledge that important partnership. It reminds me of the impact that JJC has on the community. It goes well beyond Bob's English class. It goes well beyond Laurel's Chem class. It goes well beyond Bill Hogan's physics with calc class. Our impact in the community is wide, and it's deep, and it touches all aspects of individuals in the community. So just that is yet another important partnership for us. And as you've probably picked up on, the communications section of every single board meeting will be an acknowledgement of one of our partners, as we've had in the past, American Red Cross. And Brian McDaniel came here. Mike was here today. The board can expect to hear more and more. And trust me, it's not hard to find these partners who want to say good things about what all of our employees and our organization does and means to the communities we serve. I want to acknowledge Julie and the work she's doing to advocate. I'm not sure if she's still here. If she's not, that's completely okay. The work she's doing to advocate, I've been at different community colleges, have lobbied. I expect to spend some time in Springfield. Some of the trustees will be joining KRT and I in Washington, D.C. to lobby on behalf of what we do here at JJC. So just want to acknowledge the good work that Julie is doing for us. Tonight, the board approved the J.D. Ross Award, and I want to take a moment to thank you for doing that. I want to take a moment, and perhaps Trustee Lee is going to do this at a later time as well. We can both do it, but just acknowledge, and I'm sorry, Trustee Garcia as well, acknowledge the work of the committee who deliberated through applications and nominations to arrive at this recommendation, and for Kelly for facilitating the process from a staff standpoint. It's a tremendous honor for this particular individual. More about that later as we protect the confidentiality of the individual nominated, and hope you all will join us in our annual celebration to come later. All right, as I've been crisscrossing the county, was in Morris last night at GEDC, was in Plainfield today. It's very clear to me that JJC's reach is far and wide, and the spirit of collaboration that's out there is just tremendous as we kind of embark on what the future will hold for JJC, and as we collectively, collaboratively craft a vision for what the future is going to look like. And I'd like to highlight, it's always difficult for me to kind of just pick and choose. We could be here for hours highlighting the good work of our employees on up to our executive leadership team and all the cool things that are going on here at JJC. So allow me to highlight again just a handful of things. I want to give a huge shout out to Jewel Lloyd. For those of you who don't know who Jewel Lloyd is, one of the best basketball players on the planet. Take a quick peek at the women's basketball team's shoes. Pretty cool, right? Now, Jewel Lloyd is a sponsored athlete with a small startup called Nike. And as a sponsored athlete from Nike, her connection to us is through the men's basketball team. The men's head basketball coach, Danny Turner, has a daughter who played with Jewel Lloyd at the University of Notre Dame. Jewel Lloyd donated basketball shoes to our men and women's basketball team, and she even let some of us hold her gold medal. She's a WNBA champion. She's an Olympic gold medalist. And thanks to our men's basketball program, she's a friend of JJC. So just want to take time to publicly acknowledge Jewel, and her family joined us there as well. So just a huge shout out to Jewel, and then our athletic leadership program. So you've most likely heard, and we're thrilled, excited, use all the superlatives you can think of, synonyms of those two first words. We're extremely thankful for the support of Congresswoman Lauren Underwood. She will be with us at the City Center campus tomorrow from 10:30 to 11 o'clock to see what her allocation is creating and facilitating. So she'll get a chance to meet Aisha, for example. She'll get a chance to meet some of the other EBC clients. She'll get a chance to meet the 6 individuals who wrote letters in support of this allocation. Now, in a previous life, SBDC reported to me as a dean, JJC's vision should be commended in this regard. If you've worked with the SBA, if you've worked with the SBDC, it's the same across all of the different states. There are some hoops to jump through, and there are some hurdles to overcome. JJC's vision is that we not be burdened by those hoops, right? We be able to overcome those hurdles. So the vision has been supported by Congresswoman Underwood, and many of us will be there tomorrow to thank her firsthand. So just want to give public recognition and acknowledgement to her allocation of $353,404 to support JJC's vision for the entrepreneurial business center. Huge shout out to Campus Police, and you all know I try to kind of give different shout outs to different organizations, units rather, here at the college. And Commander Williams is sitting right back there, so just want to acknowledge his leadership and Chief Campbell's leadership. Every time I see them, I thank them for keeping us safe, because that's exactly what they do, and that's no small task. So I just want to send a huge shout out to what Campus Police does. Over the break, right before the break, they did a Shop with a Cop event, and you could see it here. Just a big, success, and that's Officer Brian Hannigan there with a smiling child in a shopping cart. Now, one of the things you've approved tonight, by the way, and I expect you'll receive more information about this later. One of the items on the agenda tonight in the consent agenda was the approval of flock cameras. And if that word means nothing to you, that's okay. But the idea is that it is designed to create a safer environment for students and employees here on campus. If there are cars that shouldn't be here, through the flock cameras, those cars would be identified by their license plate, and all of the law enforcement agencies in the area will be notified if there's a car that Joliet PD is looking for that's connected to our system. Our flock cameras will pick that up, and there'll be some coordination among the different agencies. So we're doing great work in Campus Police, and again, want to acknowledge the good work of the leadership, our officers, and our CSAs as well. Yeah. And Storm, of course. Can't forget Storm. Now, I never like to celebrate employees working on a holiday. In fact, if you've listened to any of my messages that we are indeed people before we're employees, I don't love to ever celebrate employees who work outside of work hours longer than expected. However, in a $100 million organization with thousands of employees and tens of thousands of students, needs arise. So my family and I stopped by on Christmas Day. That's us over on the left-hand side. So I would just want to acknowledge Paula Meyer. Someone needs to be in dispatch, everyone, to keep us safe. And then Officer Eccles as well, who were working on Christmas Day. And in addition, employees have to get paid, regardless of whether we're off or not. So I want to acknowledge the smiling faces that you see there. Jeff, not smiling so much. Lori smiling, Sergio smiling, and just want to thank them for their efforts. Without their efforts coming in, none of the employees would have gotten paid, so shout out to them. Additionally, stuff breaks around here when we're on break. So Jeff Hayes, lead of special maintenance in facilities, worked on boilers that were tripped and a frozen sprinkler head in vet tech that just needed to be repaired when the college was on break. And Sandy Vassiliades in student development worked on January 2nd to clean up duplicate applications that came in over the break. Something that absolutely needed to happen, was time sensitive and important to our operation. So just want to take a moment to acknowledge the good work of our holiday workers. Oh yeah, oh yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm contractually required to include Trustee Broderick on one of my slides. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So this was a great event in celebration of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. There were a series of activities too I'd like to highlight here. I'll first highlight the one on the right. You've got a group of the newly formed community service affinity group who decided to take time out of their day off, to participate in the MLK Day of Service. So just want to acknowledge Monique Claiborne, Carla Joubert, Lori Johnson, William White, Dane Mezzagatto, and Carol Jackson, and Caitlin Lee. Just want to acknowledge them. And then over on the left-hand side, just want to take a moment, to celebrate Dr. Farmer for participating in the African American Business Association, which is a group of African American business leaders that had formerly been a part of the Joliet Chamber, but are branching out and creating and forming their own entity and doing a lot of really great work in the community. We've got Chris Parker and others kind of doing really good things, and chose wisely. Asked Dr. Farmer to participate as a panelist, and want to thank Trustee Broderick for attending and being in attendance and supporting Dr. Farmer in that.
She did a great job, guys. A very good job.
Thank you.
You got to learn a lot about the history, and she brought up higher education. I'm sorry to butt in.
No, not at all.
She brought up higher education and how significant education is, and how when your first education, people, first starters out, how you need it and how you need parent support and grandmother support.
Thank you. Yes.
I get that reference. How about a hand for Dr. In fact, well, Chairman, I'm sorry. I don't know how this got in
This
here.
was the dangerous sliding.
This is extremely unprofessional and not presidential at all. So, it's looping. Okay. It's looping as well. Let me see if I can.
He's on the.
Allegedly, we're participating in winter activities.
Enjoying the snow, huh?
And enjoying the snow. Oh, it's looping again. All right, well, let's stop.
Look at
And I
he's
would-
not on a sled.
I would offer that they don't make little saucers, whatever you call them, for individuals my size. So not a president was harmed in the making of this video. This was a really exciting day for us to kick off the spring semester. We had first of all, there's been a series of events around campus. The cabinet and I spent half of our cabinet meeting this morning going out to the bridge and participating in some of the activities. Units and departments from across the college had tables set up to welcome students back, to educate them on mental health services, career services, all of the different things that we offer. It was an extremely exciting, energizing time. So just want to acknowledge all the work that's happening around Welcome Me. There were dueling pianos as well. Tomorrow there'll be a karaoke activity. So a lot of fun stuff, and really happy to see students there learning and just really having a lot of fun. We kicked off the semester officially, I guess, welcoming employees back at general session last Wednesday. You'll see just a couple of images here. I told a story that some of the trustees have heard related to a vending machine, and then introduced the cabinet. And you'll see KRT there with the Bulls jacket circa 1990, which was appropriate because I introduced them with the old Chicago Bulls theme music and introduction to acknowledge their contributions. Yes, you can visualize that, right, Trustee Lee? Acknowledge their contributions to the college and their support of my vision, some of the things I tried to do. And they looked like they had a good time doing it. Lastly, I selected the Chicago Sky as my favorite Chicago sports team because I was getting tired of the questions, Cubs, White Sox, Cubs, White Sox. Instead, selected the Chicago Sky, and thanks to our strategic engagement office, was able to be joined on stage by WNBA legend, WNBA champion, EuroLeague champion, the all-time leading scorer in Chicago Sky history, a legend in the WNBA, Joliet native, JCA's finest, the incredible Allie Quigley. So she came on stage to give me an oath to swear allegiance to the Chicago Sky. So I want to acknowledge Allie for being a part of our kickoff for the staff. And I just want, again, Coach Turner, if he's listening, I still have some eligibility, and that's not a doctored photo. That's some airtime, some space between the stage and the bottom of my feet.
Very high.
And last, thank you, Trustee Broder. Thank you. I did indeed.
You did.
Lastly, as we transition over to Christy in a celebration of the foot she dropped with the sock on it, I started my day with Christy at 7:30, bright and early, with the JJC Foundation, continuing to do incredible things, but also want to acknowledge our outgoing president of the JJC Foundation, Brett Gould, who many of you are familiar with and have met, and is a supporter of 12 by 12 by 12, but also welcome Dave Contario, who has taken over as president of the JJC Foundation, and he and I had a great conversation after the board meeting. So without further ado, Christy Mulvey. Don't drop the foot.
Really?
Don't drop the foot.
Every time you guys say something that was on my report, I just kept going, click, click, click.
Scratches
Good
it
evening.
out.
Chair O'Connell, these socks would feel so comfortable in those boots. I just want to.
Yeah, you got the right color on. See?
So, good evening. I'd like to first start by giving you a very happy update. As you know, when Dr. Namuo came to Joliet Junior College, him and his wife Tiana pledged generously to start a endowed scholarship for first-generation students. And I'm happy to announce that only 4 months in, we have raised $19,528. So we are very close. I think we're going to do it in a year, not 3 years, but that's quite an accomplishment. A lot of that funds, some of the funds were raised, were given generous donations from his mom and dad, from his brother, from Klein, from various employees that give through payroll deduction. But quite a bit of the money was raised through our holiday basket party, and people really came out and bid and bought raffle tickets and stuff, and all the money went to that. So we're real pleased with that, and hopefully within the next 6 months we'll have it all taken care of. The reason I hold up a foot here today, as you know, 5 years ago we started our annual sock campaign. We've had polka dots, we've had stripes, we've had argyle and all the things, but what better year to have a Hawaiian flowered sock in honor of our new president. And so this sock campaign will kick off next week. The socks are $20 for one pair, $30 if you get two, but 100% of the money goes into our alumni scholarship fund. Last year, we buy a certain amount and then we sell out. Last year, we sold all 250 pairs. This year, we got really ambitious and bought 400. So if you would like a pair of JJC socks, let us know. I have them in my office. You can pay online and we can mail them to you. But this is one of our fun campaigns that we do. And this print is in honor of Dr. Namuo. Our spring scholarship awards have been all put on the students' accounts by the time they started class this week, which we're very proud of. We have more students that applied for scholarships than ever before. And we're very pleased with that. One of the successes I think that has helped is that Dr. Amy Gray has invited me to some of her town hall meetings where I can get in front of the faculty and express to them how it's important when they have a classroom of students to talk about their the scholarship process and for them to sign up for scholarships. I have with me the scholarship flyers for fall of 2023. Those scholarships, about 450, will be up, ready to apply for fall. I have the flyers in both English and Spanish here, if some of you would like to take them. And I also have a sticker that's a QR code that will bring the students right to the scholarship application. So we're proud of that. We're only 6 months into our fiscal year, and I have to say that we've done a great job in bringing in $1.3 million so far in 6 months to the college. Our year-end appeal brought in $575,000. As you remember, that appeal was about storytelling, about Dr. Namuo's scholarship, and about his need for bringing that endowment to bring in first-generation students and honoring them. So we raised over $500,000 in that appeal, which we're really excited about. So we don't give up easily, and we're doing another backup appeal for all the people that gave in 2021 that didn't give in 2022. We're sending out an appeal in the next 2 weeks to get those people that haven't given, to entice them and to continue the story. The story that we told in one of the stories we told in our appeal was about a student that received a scholarship in our nursing program. She was a non-traditional age student, single mom, little boy, and she got a scholarship. Her goal was to become a school nurse. And so our follow-up campaign is a picture of her in the school that she was hired from. She passed her boards. She graduated from our nursing program in December, and she has her dream job. So we're going to go out to the donors and say, look at what's been supported by your work, and we're really proud of that. So that will go out in the next 2 weeks to supplement the year end, because we don't give up at $575,000. And then I'd like to announce that our annual Night of Stars, which is usually in April, we're going to hold with that, and we're going to combine that with our 50th anniversary of the foundation. 2023, 50 years ago, the foundation was developed, incorporated, and has been the 501c3 of the college for the last 50 years. It started with a $200,000 gift, and we're at $32 million right now. I'm hoping that once we get our numbers in from the spring, that we will be able to say that the foundation has supported $1 million worth of scholarships to our students. Last year, we were at $850,000. That event for the 50th anniversary of the foundation will be held at the Rialto Theater. It's going to be on September 15th. And I've got some great plans to highlight several of our academic areas. We're hoping to have some of our music groups from our fine arts department perform. We're hoping to have some artwork from our art students. We're hoping to have pastries from our culinary chef, just to really celebrate all things Joliet Junior College and the support that the foundation has given. You will all receive a save the date card for that event. So it's September 15th, a Friday night at the Rialto. And with that, that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chrissy. Okay, 5.3, ICCTA.
Okay, the ICCTA report is extremely short, as I promised last month. The National Legislative Summit is February 4th to February 8th. Kelly Roder-Tonelli, Dr. Namuo, Josh, our trustee, will be going, and myself. If anybody wants to see the layout of the program, I have that I can give to Karen, and she can email to everyone so that they know what we are going to be doing. And Kelly, do you know how many we are going to officially be meeting in person? But we are meeting real people this time, because last year we didn't go because those that were there decided to do virtual, and we felt that virtual is not the right way to spend money and just sit in front of a TV, so we all stayed at home. And the only one that was going to be actually in person was not rerunning again, so we felt it was the best decision to stay at home. So I think we're all looking forward to it. I know Josh is. He's excited about it.
I'm super excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's of the ICCTA, because that concludes the ICCTA. Alicia and I will be giving the GLI report when that comes with the ACCT.
All right, 5.4, Student Trustee Report.
This is the Student Trustee Report for January the 18th of 2023. So, number one on the list would be the Blazers first print edition. I'm sure you guys have been walking around the campus a little bit, and if you look, there are some stands, and sometimes they're even on the tables. The Blazer has its first print edition, so physical copy. It's really cool to see, where you can kind of flip through things and get a physical instead of the PDF scroll. So I'm very, very excited to have that. And if you guys have not read the paper yet, I recommend you do so. Stress Relief Week. So back in December, there was, for finals week, a stress relief week to help students kind of calm down a little bit for exams, to help them perform best on their tests. And for finals week, there was also other stress relief and group activities involved as well. So there was puppies and PJs, where students got to sit down with puppies, which are ever popular, and VJs. the student involvement for fall 2022. So in fall 2022, an overview of the clubs proved very beneficial, where 488 individuals were engaged in clubs and student government, which is a huge amount of students to be involved on a day-to-day activities for campus. I actually have a little project coming up in the next couple months that will flesh out this number just a little bit more. So it is, in fact, the beginning of the semester. So this week, this last week, minus MLK Day, many students have been completely swamped, understandably. So if you have a student, support them through the first semester. It gets better, I promise. Welcome Week. Welcome Week started on Tuesday because of MLK Day. And Dr. Numuo kind of went through some of the details there. But yes, tomorrow is in fact karaoke. And Friday, what was on Friday?
Hot dogs and
Shoot, I might not have it up there. That's all right, no big deal. What was it for Friday? Dr. Numuo, do you happen to know?
Karaoke.
I don't. The staff's conferring.
That was, yeah, all right, that's what I was thinking.
Nothing official.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So, of course, on Monday we had the Reverend Martin Luther King Day, and there was a presentation on the 18th, so that would have been today, from 3 to 4:30 in the U Auditorium, where the Joliet Area Historical Society talked about Martin Luther King Jr.'s presence in the Joliet area during the Civil Rights Movement. Main Street will be held Monday, February the 6th at City Center campus from 12 to 2 o'clock. Tuesday, February the 7th at Romeoville campus from 10 a.m. to 1, and Wednesday, February the 8th, and Thursday, February the 9th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at main campus. So for those of you that don't know, Main Street is an event by which all the clubs will set themselves up on the promenade, and they will have stands there. And they will have, for this particular Main Street, will be the superheroes theme. And they will market their clubs to students walking to and from class. And it's a pretty darn cool event. Sadly, I won't be able to be there because of the conference in Washington, D.C. So my stand for the Debate and Rhetoric Society, which I am the founder of, will not be present, sadly. We will have an ICC-SAA conference that will be taking place here on February the 10th. And it's really a conference that goes over fundamental leadership qualities. Among our speakers, we have a keynote speaker, Dr. George Tenon, which we will have at, what time does it say? 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. And this is really fantastic for like student leaders to help get a gauge on what leadership roles, both in a community college and college setting and outside the setting, entails. Recently, there was a club leadership retreat that was hosted by CCC, and a lot of the club leadership came together and kind of networked. We tend to talk a little bit more than just networking, but it was a networking event, I assure you. And we also went over like CCC policy to make sure that all of our clubs are following the correct guidelines. There is one other thing on my slideshow that I was not able to include because it happened so last minute. But I was invited by a friend of mine to COD. And so I got a tour of COD on Martin Luther King Jr. Day by their student trustee, Aisha Shafirin. My cousin was also there and we played chess. So walking around the campus, I thought I'd give an overview of what I kind of got. I wanted to focus in on things that could be pretty quickly either implemented or pretty cheaply implemented. So one of the major things, just walking around MLK when there were no other students on campus, that I noticed was light hue. So in the boardroom, if you kind of look around, the lights, these are fluorescent lights, are kind of reflecting up and they're hitting the yellow beams. And it's reflecting down and creating kind of an orangey-ish warm hue. It's a nice tone and it's kind of homely. It's very nice to feel. Outside, I'm not sure if you can see from here, the fluorescent lights are reflecting off of the white background there. And it's a very kind of more surgical hue. Now, those are very good for high traffic environments. Those are very good for high traffic areas and places you want good color accuracy. However, students really don't stick around in those areas as often as they stick around in areas with warm yellow hues. They have these spaces at COD, and they have them here. They're referred to as nook spaces. They're little spaces where students will sit down away from all the hustle and bustle of the hallways in little groups. And it's away and it's a little bit more secluded while not being like totally doored off. And in these nook spaces that are meant for students to hang around in, they have these color lighting. And a chess match over this color lighting is a lot more pleasant than a chess match under surgical lighting. So that was one very interesting detail I observed. Another thing about the nook spaces is that around JJC does have nook spaces. And those nook spaces are, they're a little bit more open. Whereas at COD, they have kind of these, I want to call them privacy walls. They're not like big barriers or doors, but they prevent direct large lines of sight directly into the nook space. And this allows a little bit more of a more confidential feel to the environment. That, along with the lights, made some very interesting meeting places when I was talking with Trustee Shafirin. Other than that, that concludes my presentation. So thank you very much.
Josh?
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, yeah.
You belong to student government, correct?
I do, yes.
Do you guys ever hold a registration for students to get registered to be voters?
Student government does not, though. Our student government does not, but I would have to talk to our president about that, as before the November election, she held a, I would have to get you more information on that, to be honest.
If you could, the reason I'm asking, because I am a registrar, and I would be glad to donate my time to doing whatever to register, because that's our duty as a, as you turn 18 and you're able to vote. There's another election coming up in April. We'd like to have more people get out and vote.
Sure, yeah. I recall back in November something occurred. There was a registration event. Whether or not, though, that was JJC related, or if that was something that the president of student government did by herself, was something that I really didn't write down. So I could get you more information on that if you would like.
If you could, because there's nothing as far as anything that's identified, whatever. It's just to register people. Just to get people registered to vote.
Yeah.
Really quick, we do offer that. Cindy Vasquez Barrios, can you provide a little bit more insight for us, please?
Yes, we do voter registration drive every year. We do it usually in September, along with our Constitution Day. We also provide emails to students. I provide emails to students, sending them, letting them know about voter registration drive. They open it, and then it has an application and links, so they can do that as well. But we do bring people on campus to help students register.
Okay, well, I'm just offering because I am a registrar, so that's what I thought I'd mention. So if you need another one.
All right, cool. Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, well, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Josh. Buildings and Grounds Committee report, 5.5.
He's always a tough act to follow. I don't have. So, Buildings and Grounds was pretty simple tonight. We approved a couple things. We replaced the G building switchgear and replace the building B building main power transformers. This was budgeted at $225,000. The bid came in at $160,000, and this is a local vendor actually. I think based out of Rockdale, so which is nice to see too. And then we voted on and approved the remodel of the G building restrooms, budgeted at $650,000, and it came in at $216,000. Apparently, we budgeted it for 4 restrooms, and the G building only has 2 restrooms. So that's why it came in such a good savings. And that one is actually was won by a minority contractor as well. So, which is nice to know. So, in construction still is the miscellaneous capital improvement projects, and this is split systems. We're still waiting on equipment to come in. And the repair of the leaking storefronts, which we've talked about for months and months, but we're still waiting on the materials to come in for those as well. In design, that's be coming up soon. Facade repairs, it looks like it's going to be on either the March or the April board docket. And also the parking lot improvement repairs. This one looks like it's probably going to be to finish the rest of the ring road, and also do one parking lot as well. So, and that should be coming up in the future as well. That's all we have for the B&G committee.
Okay, thank you. 5.6 is Board Policy Committee Report.
You already,
No report tonight.
All right.
the best kind of reports.
No news is good news. 5.7 Finance Committee Report.
We will cover
Jim and
all
Jake?
that news at the retreat.
No reports on that either.
Okay. All right, double good. 5.8 AGT-GLI reports.
Okay. Both Alicia and I had attended the Governance Training Institute. This is something that Michelle had attended. Luckily, she had gone to Hawaii for that one. Alicia and I went to Triton College for it. Yeah, yeah. They divided our session up. We had 2 days. They divided our session up between board chairs, vice chairs, and presidents, while the other was for board trustees. I'll give what what the vice and the board chairs and presidents did. Alicia, I think, can give what you had from the trustee side of it. Key strategies for leading an effective board and having a cohesive board were the main focus of the discussion. Establishing good communications protocols and setting clear expectations are key to having a good chair. If communications don't exist, you won't have a good working board with your president or with your board of trustees. Chairs need to get to know the personalities of each board member and to learn to work with all diversities of personalities to collectively work on building a cohesive team of board members. Success will emanate from the board chair having these capabilities and working well with the president. Cohesion and effective president and boards were identified as follow: sharing the goals and clear roles and processes for all, setting of those goals and priorities, understanding policies and processes, identifying problems, areas of conflict and management, impact of board changes which occur every 2 years because of elections, identifying what keeps the board and presidents up, and if there's no cohesion, then you don't have a good working board. It's imperative that all cabinet and administration have total respect for each board member. 2 to 3 board retreats a year are needed to bring board cohesion together. Presidents need also to get to know the personalities of all of us board members. President should bring all issues to his cabinet and then bring them back to the board chair and vice. It was noted that all presidents and chairs in attendance at cohesive executive boards meet always with the president, which is inclusive of the vice in those meetings. All communications go directly to the president with all questions and answers then to follow to all of the trustees. The trustees are allowed to contact the administration cabinet. However, the cabinet member should then respond with a thank you for their email or communication, yielding to inclusion of the president, so there's no exclusion of the president, that he's always included in any trustee communication. There's always need for succession planning for the next chair with the next election. They concentrated on rejuvenating, re-energizing, and succession, especially when assessing our president and having professional development plan for our president. And basically, the ICCTA executive director told us all there that we all have to work on that because none of the community colleges in Illinois have that. So that's something that we have to put on our agenda to work at one of our retreats. Then we got into Robert's Rules of Parliamentary Procedures, all of the things discussed as to what we have to do and what parliamentary procedure is. I'll give that to Karen so she can pass it out to what we had in our presentation from the ACCT. And what are the rights and duties of the trustees? Attend all meetings, receive agenda, background information to make their decision and vote, make motions, allowed to debate, vote. Nominate, hold office, obey the rules outlined in your trustee protocols, insist on enforcement of those rules and protocols, fulfill your assigned duties until you're properly excused, further the goals and missions of the college. All members, trustees, are equal. Quorum must be present to take any valid action per the bylaws. If there's an absence of a quorum, you have to establish a time that must be established to adjourn the meeting or recess it. Take measures then to obtain a quorum. Only one main position can be under consideration at a time. Only one member can have a floor at the time, and the chair must have control of that discussion and allow equal time for each member. And full debate is allowed on all questions. And for action items, 2/3 of a vote is needed, and a roll call vote is considered no voice vote. A majority decides unless there's a percentage that changes it in your policy. Silence on a vote gives consent, or to abstain does the same. Abstaining votes don't need to give reason why they are not voting, and abstain voters do not get to get into the debate if there is one. Alicia?
Yes. So pretty much some of the information that was shared was kind of overlapped in the trustees as well, because you and I sat together and it was one room and we were all there listening to the same thing. So I'm going to ditto everything you said, with the exception that as a new trustee, I don't think that this college or anybody in maybe like Joan Tierney or Dr. Mitchell, or no, for me it was, I think Dr. Daniels is when I came in, really knew how to properly onboard a new trustee. At least I didn't feel I had that. And what I would like us to do now, because there is an election in April coming up where we may have 2 new trustees if I don't win. We'll see. Anyway, so is to onboard these new staff members, and going to these conferences. Especially if they're local. If you can have another Hawaii one, why not? But making sure that these, really encouraging trustees to go to these. It's one thing to go to the annual ACCT conference, but these, I wish I would have gone to this, or I would have been encouraged more in the beginning to go to one of these, because they really broke down and discussed the retreats, the purpose of the retreats, the self-evaluations, which for boards, I don't know that we've done one yet. They discussed strategic planning, executive leadership transitions, establishing board goals, which Trustee Broderick did share board goals from another community college and what they're doing, and we'd like to talk about that in the February 1st maybe workshop, because they had some really good goals for that particular college that I think we can also work on ourselves. And they discussed diversity, equity, and inclusion. Myself being the first person of color elected and appointed to America's First Community College, I didn't feel welcome on this board, and it's intimidating to sit here. It is, because we don't know everything and we're learning, and there's managing those expectations. But as being the first person of color, I didn't feel welcome, and I think going to these conferences really would have helped me navigate through the space a lot better. And I don't want any new trustee to feel that sense of unwelcoming. And also conflict resolution, because there was a lot of conflicts when I first came onto this. It was already a very tense board, I think, which is why there were 2 vacancies. And then I got appointed to one of the vacancies, and then that tension just continued. So I think having gone through one of these conferences would have really been helpful for any new trustee. So outside of that, one other thing I did learn going to these is that they do role playing. So they give you scenarios and they break you up into small groups, and then you role play about that one trustee that's, what is this?
This was the one role play.
Oh yeah, well, I'm not going to talk about it. But they have about like disruptive trustees, and how to handle those disruptive trustees. So yeah, anyhow, we all know who. Anyway,
it wasn't intentionally. It's what our group got. Sorry.
Well, yeah. So anyway, stop all the time. So yes,
she became a better trustee by going to it.
Excuse me. Okay.
I think you did. No, I think you did. You learned more.
Okay. Well, some of us are still learning. So anyway, yes, that was really good. Yes. So that concludes my report.
See, they're all laughing at you.
They're laughing with me.
No, they're giving me crap.
Yeah,
And
well,
I mean
it's
it
needless to say, Trustee Broderick and I have not always gotten along, but we are both learning
You're
to
sitting
work
together now. Look at that.
You're fine.
Yes, because we're not going to kill each other. Yes. So
No, we are doing good.
we're doing better.
And I was
That is
glad.
why we don't put you on a 9-hour airplane ride. So there.
That's a good thing. But it's good that she and I enjoyed the conference, and it was a good learning experience.
Wait, I thought this was her. This was Alicia's thing we were talking about now, right?
Correct. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So yes, that
Are you,
concludes my report.
so you were done with that, or?
Yes, I said it concludes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Good. Good. That's all right. That's all right. Then it's my turn, and I'll be a lot shorter, believe me. And I want to thank everybody for attending and influencing the Martin Luther King celebration that we had here at JJC, and I want you to remember Martin Luther King, and you should remember that in some place somewhere there Martin Luther King is really rooting for the Ukrainians, and we should all remember that. And we should remember what Mike Keene said about our Illinois Food Bank. We should remember that too. We could start a long list if we kept going, but I'm not going to. And so now we're going to have a closed session tonight, and I want to say. Before we do that, I want to say happy birthday also to Alicia Morales. Remember, after the closed session or before the closed session starts, we're either going to have a pie eating contest or a pie fight. Just so everybody can start laughing about the whole thing. While we get to the end. But that's all I have, and I hope that's enough. It better be.
Okay, we're going to go into closed session for items under 2C1, 2C6, and 2C11. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Broderick?
Aye.
Trustee Pazinski?
Aye.
Trustee Garcia Guillen?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Stamborski?
Yes.
Trustee O'Connell?
Yes.
Motion carries.